I'm going to suggest that we open the town board meeting for Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. We're starting with a session on the tentative budget, a workshop, if you will, which is open to the public and being broadcast. I wanted to welcome everybody to this, and I wanted to just introduce you generally to the budget, and then I'm going to let Charlie do the line by line, because he's much happier with the spreadsheet. But we have to do the salute the flag first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Exits and roll call.
Oh, yeah, and I was just realizing that I had said there was an executive session, and I skipped that part. But okay. Emergency exits are where they always are, that door and this door. And you can do the roll call, Dawn Marie.
Sure. Supervisor Blackman?
Here.
Council members Winters?
Here.
Revlard?
Here.
Ham? Here. Ahern? Here.
Okay, so we'll start with public comment tonight, but it should be public comment. I guess it should be, I think we need to talk about the budget, so actually we shouldn't have, I'm not sure we should have done that yet, Dawn Marie, but we're starting with the budget, so I am going to just introduce that. So, I discussed this with Charlie at the beginning, and the idea was to keep personnel costs pretty much where they are. That's with the exception of giving everyone a cost of living increase, and also with the highway garage, since we're negotiating with their union now, and that isn't finished. So those are the only two changes there. The significant changes this year are, first of all, the EMS service. We've used a company for the last 5 years, and we had a contract that was supposed to be extendable, but they apparently lost so much during COVID that they weren't willing to honor that. And we've been negotiating with them, and there's an incredibly steep increase. That hasn't been resolved yet, and we're still negotiating with them and with at one other company, because there aren't that many choices in this part of Dutchess County. So that is not resolved yet, but that looks like it may be a significant expense and a significant part of the budget. And we put in their worst case scenario, in other words, the number that we got from the vendor we have now, which they were not willing to move very much on, even though we were willing to cut certain things out. So anyway, that's still going on, and that is a big impact on the budget. So Charlie, do you want to do the line by line?
Sure. So maybe we can start with a couple of things. A little bit of the format of the budget changed only to make it a little bit easier to see. So the first page.
Can you swing the mic towards you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Share? We'll get very tight. So we added a couple of columns to the budget so that you could see what not only was the actual expense and revenue for 2023, but also the adopted and the year-to-date for 2024 through the end of August, to sort of make it easier instead of having to flip back and forth between a lot of different pages. And then we also included a column for department request. So whatever any of the departments requested is included in that line instead of having to go back and look at a budget worksheet to find it. And then the tentative budget column, which in many cases is exactly what the department requested, because many departments used similar to what they had done in 2024. And the personnel expenses, we had used a 3% cost of living increase for most positions. When a department or department head requested more, it has been included in this line, with the exception of the recreation, the full-time versus a half-time person. Our tentative budget here has a half-time person. So I was going to suggest that we first go through the payroll, because I've included a sheet in your package here that breaks down, if you go past the budget, it's a summary of the different sections of the appropriation. So municipal budgets are broken into really 3 significant sections: personnel, or personal services, equipment.
Wait, Charlie, what page?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a single, it's a just one pager.
It's on all the way in the back.
Just one pager there, there you go.
Thank you.
There you go. So this is, we're just discussing the general fund right now. In the budget is the general fund, the highway fund. Both of those combined are the overall town budget, because all parcel owners pay that. And then there are, there's a water special district, fire district, well, 2 fire districts, 2 lighting districts, and then the library. But for now, we'll just go over the general fund. So personnel services is about 25% of our budget, so I thought it would be an easy way to first go through that page, because there's a large legal page that you'll see there that lists all of our personnel, what their pay rate was in 2024, and what the increase is proposed in 2025.
Does that include what the negotiations that are going on with the highway garage union?
So for the general fund, the highway garage, no. What we did budget for in the highway garage was our last offer to the union,
Okay.
which we felt was quite fair. So that's what we have in the budget now.
All right.
Right, Leo?
Yes, do you
Yeah.
want to just go through the other
Oh,
appropriation
the other,
categories?
yeah, so I think it would be
makes sense
good
to
for people to kind of look, when you look at the town budget, most of the lines, you will see, you know, a PS, an EQ, or a CE beside it. So you can look at that and know, oh, PS is personal services, so that's people, it's W-2 wages. Equipment is, you know, desks, things like that that you would purchase. Contractual are all of our contract services, so mowing the grass, our
Lawyers.
town attorneys, yes, which we can talk about that as well later. Ambulance is broken out here because it is a significant expense, and it's kind of, although it's contractual, it's looked at differently. And then the other large ones are principal on the debt, so we have 2 bonds that we're paying off, and the interest on those bonds. And then employee benefits. So although that's separate from personal services, you know, when you hire somebody, you have to pay them W-2 wages, and if somebody has, it's a full-time employee, they're eligible for our health insurance.
And Charlie, you didn't explain to our audience at home what non-departmental includes.
Oh, so it is, hold on one second, let me make sure that so Beth Israel, we actually collect from them the amount of money that's paid to Dutchess County Sheriff. So that's in our budget, but it's a wash through. We don't collect taxes for it, they pay us for that.
You're saying for security for the synagogue?
Yes, security for the synagogue.
Because I think that may be a hospital, but I'm not entirely sure.
But Beth,
Beth Israel.
is it not?
I don't know, it's Rosh Hashanah, I don't want to get into
Oh,
that.
okay.
So,
The synagogue on Main Street.
yes. Okay.
All right. So you guys good with starting with going through the payroll? So I've highlighted, and I will say the 3% cost of living increase is based off of the Consumer Price Index as of June 30th, which is inflation. It's kind of the way in which you can look at inflation. And then I highlighted those, I guess it's like a salmon color here, where the department request was higher than the 3%. So the first is who is now a building clerk, but the planning board has required, the planning department has asked for a couple of hours of somebody to help them out, and so we're trying to see if we can use that person. There is a little issue with Dutchess County because Dutchess County has very specific job titles, and in those titles, if they require taking an exam, and how many hours you can do under that job thing. So we're still working with Dutchess County, but regardless, we're budgeting for having somebody in both those
And the
departments.
reason for this is that we're trying to get the building department is ahead of the planning and zoning on this, but we're trying to get all the papers scanned and hopefully drawings scanned so that that would all be searchable on the computer, which it isn't now. It also takes up an enormous amount of space, and I think it's very hard for people to manage. So Bridget is already scanning down in the building department, and we want her to scan in the planning zoning office too, so, which is, you know, kind of far behind in terms of getting this stuff scanned.
So that department increase was just 3.25% versus a 3%. The Park and Rec, maybe this is a discussion if the board wants to have about, I think you approved a part-time person last time, so maybe this is good.
I'm sorry.
Keep it as a part. I remember that I thought the board authorized the publication at 20 hours last week, so budgeting for 20 hours for 2025. Okay. The planning board and ZBA secretary requested a bit more than the 3%. It was a 4% increase. She had also requested an increase in the stipend. So the planning board chair and the ZBA chair both get a stipend, and she increased that higher than the 3%. Maybe if anybody has an issue, they can just say it. And I will, by the way, at the end of this, I will type up every request that you make to change for the preliminary budget, and it'll be a summary sheet on our preliminary budget that we get, so you'll see the changes there. So.
Are we doing away with 40-hour employees going January or no? We're keeping 40 hours? Okay. Okay.
There is a column here for hours, so you can see, we don't have a ton of 40 hours in the town hall. Every buddy at all of the highway garage employees, aside from the secretary, are 40-hour a week.
Right.
The large increase, although by percentage, this 4.5% or so, all of the constables, the head constable asked for an increase. We actually looked at prevailing rates around the area, and it's justifiable for them to have more.
It's also been very hard to hire new constables and to retain the ones we have because the adjacent towns are paying more.
Yeah. And I'll say something about these hours. So this has just been a way of averaging out weekly hours. So, you know, they work at different times and stuff. So it might look a little funny there, but the secretary to the supervisor, there's a bit of a bump there. The town
The
assessor.
typist to the supervisor.
Sorry?
The typist to the
What did I
supervisor, the
say?
secretary.
Did I say secretary?
The secretary I
Typist.
don't have anymore.
I apologize, typist. So a large increase was the town assessor and her clerk. Her basis of this was her extensive amount of time dedicated to the large number of tax cert cases we have. And it looks as if there will be a lot of that work also in 2025. I guess the board could decide if they wanted to do some kind of per diem instead of giving a base salary increase, but that would be a negotiation with her. But that also, I looked at other assessors around, and it's not terribly out of line. The town clerk had made an agreement with a previous board about trying to get that particular position salary up to those comparable in other towns. So this is based off of a step up over 3 years. So there'll be another step up outside of a cost of living next year, if the board agrees. And then the only other outside of the 3% was, again, the zoning board secretary had requested a larger increase for the ZBA chairperson, $105 for the year.
And you're showing the increase for Social Security and Medicare as well. So there's the general fund lists what the total is.
Yeah, so, anytime you hire somebody, you have to add, 7.65% for Social Security, Medicare, and then, if they are over 40 out, well, we have an employee who is 32, 36 hours who also gets health care, but we'll get into the health care expenses too.
So if I'm reading this correctly, the cost then for personnel has gone actually down from $839,000 to $807,000.
Yeah, and that's really it's a net effect of saving $22,000 or so from the rec director. Right, exactly, and then the others increasing, so.
And go ahead.
It's kind of a wash, yeah. The net change is $1,400.
Okay.
Savings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But didn't we cut a position, a typist to the supervisor or confidential secretary?
Oh, the confidential secretary has left the building, and mostly because there really wasn't a need. I mean,
No, I know, but shouldn't that reflect, shouldn't that make a difference in the?
It's a question for the board if they want to not appropriate for that position. You can totally do that.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
a
it was
20-hour a
mostly-
week.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
No, please, I'm sorry.
I think, can we leave it there and just zero it out?
Well, in the budget, it would be just zeroed out. Yeah, the position's still there. You can bring the position back.
Right. I mean, I think that's really the important thing here is that if some future supervisor wants a confidential secretary, people can hear what I'm saying from even on the first floor, so a confidential secretary would be kind of pointless for me. But if some future supervisor would like to have one, I think we need to leave the position there because that's at the supervisor's discretion, so it's different than the other secretary.
Right.
So would the board like to remove an appropriation for the supervisor
Well, I like the
secretary?
idea where we just leave it there and just zero it out in the budget.
Well, that's what we're
Yeah.
saying, that we're going to zero it out.
Yeah, but yes, I think we should.
Is that the
zero out.
consensus? Okay. Was there anything else on personnel services there? Nope. I think so, okay. So when we get to each section of the budget, anytime you see PS, then we've already gone through that.
Okay.
The highway department I included on this. Let's go through these next two funds.
And Charlie,
Here.
just as a point of record, I've always been trying to get the previous supervisor to indicate what things change between our budget meetings, like by highlighting them or putting them in red. Otherwise, you have to go through everything, and I think a lot of stuff gets kind of hidden and lost. So I'd appreciate it if you would just make sure that that's easily findable this time.
Yeah, sure. My thought was that I'd have a cover sheet that would actually have each line item that changed,
Okay.
up or down, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the past, you'd have to go through the entire budget and hopefully remember, because it wasn't even on the same page, what the previous
Yeah.
number was. So,
And
yeah.
there will be, so you see if you go back to your budget, there's two empty columns. So, the preliminary will be what you get next week, which will be incorporating the changes that you request here, or you tell me to make. Yeah, all right. So the highway department, the rates that we have here shifted a little bit, and I apologize, but they are reflected in this tentative budget, the last offer we made to the highway department.
So I see you listed everybody else through here, but for the highway department, this document is public. Why isn't the highway supervisor
She's
included?
elected.
It's a really good point. So the highway supervisor,
We're elected. and
Yeah,
on
we're
the-
elected and we're on there. That's a good question.
yeah, she's on the other, so if you go back to the big one, the highway, so the highway supervisor, superintendent, excuse me, I'm sorry, and
it's in the
the office manager are in the general fund. which does seem a little odd, but that's where they are.
It's in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, all right.
So her salary was also 3%. It was just across the board. If we could, the board could decide not to give themselves the 3% increase as well, if you wanted to. It's,
Well, we'll see what the total numbers are.
okay. So coming back to here, there are a couple of components of the new contract that that we're negotiating that I've included in our tentative budget number. Aside from changing the base rates, there is a bit of a change in longevity bumps, which so if you're there for a number of years, you get, a little, like a bonus every year at your anniversary. And there's a couple of other elements to that last offer that was made by the supervisor to the union that's included in the budget number.
This was what was offered and they didn't have?
No, this was the round before that.
Okay.
But I had incorporated an extra 5% to include the other elements that they offered, that they requested. That union, they want some kind of bump if they do different kinds of work, be it mechanic, or if they have a certain license and they use that license, and so there's just some negotiation and some room between where we want to be.
Negotiation team, is it you and?
And Megan.
And Megan and Charlie and our labor attorney,
Okay.
who's very calm.
He is very calm, yeah. And we can, like, if you guys want to talk about that too, like Megan and Judy at the Highway Department and Leo and I did a deep dive into neighboring towns, what they're paid, how they arrange it.
I'm just kind of surprised that negotiation isn't being shared with the town board as a whole.
Well, that's kind of why I was wondering who was on
Yeah.
the team.
Okay, well, we can talk about that in executive session.
But typically, when
we
there's
can't.
negotiations, they're closed. So.
Yeah, but isn't it the town board is going to be the final approval
Well,
on that
look at
contract
the-
or that
it may-
agreement?
Well, I don't know.
need a
I mean,
report.
I don't know how that works, but I know that.
We're going to
when-
need a report.
I mean, I would think that the town board should be included to an extent.
Well, so what generally happens, and this is the way it happens on the labor side too, is that they have representatives who negotiate and then bring those terms back to them. So that's what I believe the supervisor will do, will bring terms back to you guys to, approve or not approve.
If you want, I'll check with the Association of Towns on that.
No, I was just asking
Yeah.
because I know negotiations been going on and we haven't seen any report of what or is being asked for or what's being offered.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long-time tradition in town, but you're right, it's not the way to do it.
But I will say too, the supervisor has included the highway superintendent in all of these conversations. That was not the case in the last rounds, to my understanding. So I think it's been and I guess when we get to the highway fund element, the superintendent can give you some color on that. The overtime, I just want to sort of mention this. So when we get to the highway budget, the snow line is actually overtime for the highway crew, and the highway superintendent generally budgets 150 hours per person for overtime for snow removal, so we know where that is. And the only other two people are in the water fund. There's a billing clerk and a treasurer, and we applied the 3% cost of living increase there. One final thing on this, anyone who is salaried, we just rounded the cents so that there was a whole dollar for those. So if you see, there's a smidge difference here and there, so that it's just a whole number. Okay, so the only change there then is the removal of the secretary to the supervisor.
Excuse me.
Are we looking at the department payrolls total, which is next?
It's just a summary of what we just went over, so if anybody was interested, I included it. So it's really just, of those department payroll, this is the summary of it.
Okay. I wouldn't have guessed the building department was number one, Mike. Just good to see that.
not building,
What?
grounds. I'm under emergency,
Safety, yeah. I called it for this purposes of this chart, building department, because that's
Yeah, I
the way
didn't see it
took
anywhere
it.
else, so I
Yeah.
assumed that that's
Yeah.
what it was.
I'm sorry, that's my.
Okay.
Does the board want to go from the beginning, or do you want to review with the, department heads that are here? How would you like to?
I think it might be a good idea to let the department heads impart any information they'd like to, and then they're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but I just want to make sure we hear from them.
We could always do a night fight outside and see who gets the biggest increase per budget from the department heads.
Mike, do you want to go first?
I was like, who's going first?
Let's take one and pass it down.
I basically had just left pretty much everything the same in my budget, but for a couple questions and items. One, I know you did, and Charlie just touched on it for the one Bridget, and it did appear when I was looking for her going upstairs in the planning board doing records, that she was still coming out of the building department for paying her for upstairs.
Yeah, because Dutchess County doesn't allow it to be.
Because that was one of my questions, the building department was paying for her in planning, so. The other big item I've put in the budget for 10 years now. When I started here in 2015, I had a vehicle. It did not pass inspection. I never got a vehicle since. And it's, in this day and age, me taking my personal vehicle out on inspections constantly, everybody sees my vehicle, they know my license plate, they can figure out where I live easy enough. And my position doesn't always make everybody happy. So that is one of my requests for a vehicle. The 67 cents a mile does not cover expenses.
Wear and tear.
And my insurance is higher when I drive my vehicle for work. That is one of the reasons that I've been requesting it. The only other bigger item, it's not really a big item, is a cell phone. I only have my personal cell phone to use for everything. And it's not.
That's weird, because we gave the rec director.
Yeah, I've never had a cell phone. I have a cell phone number, my tablet operates off, but I cannot talk on my tablet.
Okay.
And
I think we could
return
fix
phone
that.
calls.
I think we could probably fix
So
that.
they're basically the main items that I've asked for extra in the budget.
Okay.
Other than that,
Same old, same old.
yeah, and to hire a deputy.
Yeah, well, we're working on that.
Thank you.
So we did include in the budget the hiring of a deputy in the personnel services when you went through those. And the only change that we had made to Mike's request was the $33,730 truck purchase. But the cell phone is there.
So couldn't we go to, Dutchess County holds auctions all the time, that we could get a relatively inexpensive vehicle for him? Yes, no?
I think he's going to tell us.
The vehicle I did actually put in is state contract through one of our local dealers. That was for a vehicle that he had on the lot. Now,
Would you be satisfied with, say, if we went, Dutchess County holds auctions all the time, and they're selling vehicles.
Yeah, the only thing I have requested is a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, because construction sites in the spring and fall are not easy to get on and off sometimes. Like I said, I had an old highway truck when I first came, and we had it until it didn't pass inspection, so.
Okay. Something we'll have to discuss.
Yep.
Well, I
Dawn,
think,
do we typically discuss this as it goes along, or do we typically?
You can,
You
if you want to
can.
discuss it, and if you want to discuss it now, you most certainly can, because it's,
I think we might as well while it's fresh.
get it.
Yeah, I would say you should.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, you have
take
it
a
right
item.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's.
Yep.
I mean, then we kind of move
Because
this
then
along.
that's how Charlie will know if he's inputting numbers, not
Yeah,
inputting
yeah.
numbers, and that's how you get the
You wanna
most
start?
current.
Sure. I mean, I know there's a long tradition of not giving Mike a vehicle. I think there are reasons to do that. One is his personal security. Another is just sort of knowing where he is at all times. And a third is that we may have a
Talking about
deputy.
putting the tracking device on?
Yeah, there was one, but he said it didn't work. So I think on a new car, we can probably get one that works. But it also seems reasonable for him not have to use his
Yeah, it
his
is.
personal vehicle, and
Insurance is up, what, 80%? Something like that?
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, assuming we do get a deputy building inspector, the deputy building inspector would have it too
Right.
for his route. So I know that this was rejected many times, but I certainly can support
I'd say we put it back in the budget, personally.
others.
The only thing I had to say was that even if you wanted to go a little bit broader and make it a town maintenance vehicle, because I know there's sometimes John has to go out to, is it Millbrook or somewhere, to pick up paper and stuff, and he's using his personal vehicle, I assume?
Yep, the assessor, the data
Yes,
person.
that's true, yeah, so,
If you want to have the constables issue tickets, then you'd have a town vehicle.
Are you saying sharing that, or are you saying getting a second vehicle?
no, I'm saying, because Mike's not on inspections all day.
Right.
Well, I'm curious how far out we want to go as far as making this a shared vehicle, because then we'll get into who gets it first, and it can become a scheduling conflict.
Okay.
I've seen stuff like that happen before. I know it happens at my company. We had 2 company vehicles, and there becomes a serious scheduling conflict at times if we make it available to too many people.
So my understanding of how this works is we can put all these things in that we would like, that each department would like to have in. And then once we look at the overall expenses and what the budget we think is going to be turning out, then we might start looking at where we start cutting here and there. Have I missed anything?
No, not at all. I mean, we
Okay.
have a tentative budget now that is 15% higher amount to be raised by taxes from last year. Much of that is attributable to the ambulance. Leo and I put together a budget that was only about 4% higher than the current year amount to be raised by taxes until the ambulance increased. So I would encourage
My
the...
understanding on that, by the way, is that in my discussion with Sue Serino, that she invited the supervisors and mayors to a meeting, which I think you attended,
Yeah,
she
on
said.
Tuesday, right.
On Tuesday. And I know that her comment was, well, everybody's up against the same problem. But the only question I have, and maybe you talked to Sue Serino about this, was about a combination of town services. Was that brought up at all?
You mean in terms of doing it?
Like with Northeast or
county-wise?
Dover? Or,
Well, we already have an agreement with Dover
Right.
and with Northeast, and NDP, the company we use now, has not been willing to sort of change the service from what we have now. In other words, the scope of what we get now. We spoke to another vendor who was willing to do that, but we still have more negotiating to do. Unfortunately, the county, in my experience, as much as I like Sue Serino, has not offered money for things. They're sympathetic, but they're not they're not, she actually did a sheet that broke down the statistics on what each town, the percentage of their population, and how often the vehicles are called, and what the wait time is, and all that stuff, which is great, but there was no discussion about any kind of financial help.
Right.
So I think it ultimately would be great to have a regional solution, because I think could be planned more strategically. Right now, there are some towns that either still have their own ambulances or don't pay for any ambulance coverage at all, which means that our vehicles have to go there. And
Didn't DAJ Houston say that the county legislator was looking at creating a regional ambulance service?
Yeah.
We are in
months ago?
Region 5. Dawn probably knows a lot more about how the mechanics work of this, but every town in Dutchess County is experiencing this, to my knowledge. Like, we came together with Dover and Northeast to try to share services. So we have 3 ambulances. One is parked in each one of our towns. The ambulance charge that we pay for is for standby service. If there was enough calls for all those ambulances so that they could take them to the hospital and then charge back Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance, we wouldn't even have to pay for them. But unfortunately, we don't.
yeah, and just so people know that there is, the ambulances actually charge the patients for their services, which are mostly covered by Medicare and Medicaid, but there is income from that in addition to what we pay. So we're basically paying for an ambulance to be in our town.
Right, when they don't have that service. And so our ambulance service now is 24/7, 365 days a year. The supervisor and the other 2 supervisors in Dover and Northeast reached out to Empress is the other large one that does services. Empress is a union shop. They came back with a quote that was 3 times what we had been presented with from NDP. And their lowest quote, which would have had us with 1 ambulance between the 3 towns, like it was very little coverage, was still more than what NDP was offering. The county is not giving us any money, I'm sorry, or at least not in 2025. So to come back to this budget, I would just encourage us to sort of look at places where we can chip away so that the impact on residents isn't as great.
Well, that's my point, because especially with essential services.
Yeah.
We're getting kind of way off about.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It just happens to be the biggest thing that we're back to the truck.
Yeah, we're way off.
You're right, we did go off that.
Yeah, way off. I'd still say that we include a vehicle for the highway department in this year's budget.
Okay, so you want me to include
Well,
the
you gotta have,
department?
The others,
Okay,
they want
yeah.
input from the others.
we gotta have a majority.
Oh, I agree. I think we should put it back in. And I think we should make every attempt. And I know this is off track again, but I do think that with the ambulance, we need to have an accounting of what they spend their money on and how much they get back. And they didn't seem really forthcoming in that, but I think we should really kind of ask for it.
Yeah, because Rosanna attended one of the meetings that I couldn't with them, and that was the one where they seemed most unwilling to compromise or make any changes. So, but that's ongoing. Okay, so.
Is that a consensus of putting the ambulance?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry.
There was a majority.
Yeah.
So can I recommend that I also then calculate what the insurance for that would be
Yes.
and what all of the costs and maintenance for it?
Yep.
Okay.
Gas, all that.
Yeah, inspections, registration.
Just, you mentioned the gas.
Uh-huh.
The last time I had a vehicle, I did get gas at the highway garage
Okay.
where it's
Well,
a better
they would still have to pay
price.
for it.
So, no, it was budgeted out of my account, but
That's what I'm saying. It's still getting paid someplace.
yeah, it went,
I'm sure it's a
And I believe
couple more
for
dollars, a couple more cents cheaper. than-
municipal vehicles, the registration and everything is a lot less, so.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
All right, Megan, you probably pay a little bit less than we do at the gas station? Yeah, so it'll be cheaper.
And speaking of Megan, do you want to, is there anything you want to talk about in your budget at this moment?
Are we done with Mike's budget?
I
So
think so.
So Mike's section is under public inspections, so
Yeah, we could go through the rest of it.
it's on page 4 here. I just want to make sure that everything else is okay for the next round aside from under equipment.
Page 12,
For the big one.
the budget itself.
Yeah. Okay, so
Page 4, you said?
Page
Yeah,
4
this
and
is, I
8.
got dog
page
control.
4 is
Yeah, no, page 4, I got it. I can count.
public safety inspections.
Oh, public safety's, okay,
Public space.
underdog.
Yeah, underdog. Yeah.
Not underdog,
Oh, sorry, I
that's a
guess
whole
those are
other
both public safety, dog control, but, yeah.
Yes, not the same department.
Yeah, and as you can see, like the largest, line item here is the personnel services. So then are we fine with that?
Go away then, right?
Mileage would in the,
Yes, well, it would,
there still
I'll
would
figure
need to
out
be-
where we want to put it, the maintenance stuff.
right, and gas.
So do you guys want to move on to the highway
Sure.
fund since Megan is here? Here you go.
Do we have something?
And instead of doing the big binder, I thought it was just easier for me to pass down the worksheets from the department. Yes, this is their request here. So, and at some point, you'll see if a department had, notations, it's actually on here. The highway fund is further in on the budget. So if you flip, you'll get to the highway fund.
Mine's pretty much the same. Only thing I really changed, I went up a little bit on the general repairs, road repairs. I went up, it's 110,000. I keep asking to go up another 10,000. Materials have gone up. I mean, it's not, 10,000 is a lot, but it's not a lot when you go to buy material. It was just that I changed, and I changed my fuel line, the diesel line machinery. I brought that down, bless you. Came down $6,000 on that.
How come?
It's kind of been up a little bit since COVID, and then COVID kind of was, the prices were still up there, and they've come down more, so
Okay.
well, I think that's a safe, pretty safe there, I believe. That's all I
Snow
really
removal's the same?
changed. What's that?
I said you kept snow removal the same?
Yes. Yep.
Have you ever busted that snow removal account before?
No.
No.
No?
Knock on
And
wood,
again, the
yes.
personnel is based, Charlie, on the most recent offer. Yes. Highway, or to highway. Okay.
I will, and I'll true that up. So on the preliminary budget, the next round, I will use the exact numbers. I just used a percentage overall, but I'll give you the exact.
Okay.
I got no questions. Just seems.
So these are basically left alone, I mean, both from your perspective and what
Right.
we
It's
put in
only-
the budget.
It's the only two I've changed.
Well, that was pretty easy. Do board members have any concerns about any of that?
Can I make one note here? So I guess it's page 1, under permanent improvement chips. There's a capital project line item that has really been sort of like a reserve piece that's been put in there. The general ledger number is incorrect. I was told by our accountant. It shouldn't be CE, right? It should generally be equipment. So on the next round, I'll have another GE line, but it will be the same amount. Just want you to know what it was.
I'm sorry, Charlie,
So under permanent improvement chips, it's the budget line 5112.4.
I'm sorry, you're talking about in their budget or in?
The highway fund,
Oh, okay.
On the budget. The other.
The other budget.
The budget, not the worksheet, but the.
Yeah, that one.
There you go.
Budget, budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and what's the number on that?
The line number is 5112.4.
Keep going to highway.
No,
Keep going. Go
Keep
past
going,
the first
keep
8
going.
pages.
Past the first 8.
Keep going. 'Cause they have
Wow.
three
I'll
numbers.
number them correctly next time, I'm sorry.
Highway fund appropriations, look at that. Okay,
So the third section down,
yep, got it.
under improvements, capital project. That's actually a saving for, equipment. And the town board has historically passed a resolution to move that into a reserve fund. It's the wrong general ledger number from the comptroller's office, so it'll just be changed.
And Megan, there were some specific road projects that you had talked to me about when we went out during mud season, and some of it was paving roads that aren't paved now. Is there any money in here that reflects that, or is that presumably to come from CHIPS?
That we're talking about, you're talking with the 60,000 for the truck?
No, I think he's talking about,
No, you're talking with the CHIPS money. Nothing totally planned yet, but that's
Okay.
what, definitely that will be used for.
Okay.
Megan, I do have one question. Paul referred to it about the snow removal, second of the trail to train. We had talked previously that was something that the town isn't doing, that's a separate item, line item perhaps. So are we considering that in our budget, Charlie?
we've asked Megan, I don't know if we've convinced her yet to look at equipment to purchase for the removal of the snow there, and if she has time. But I'll let her answer that.
All right.
Well, I've helped with the mowing. Victoria came to me, 2 years ago? 3 years ago, 3 years ago now, 6, 5. But she asked me about plowing and mowing. I agreed with the mowing. The plowing is, yes, the machine is an issue, but it's really not my issue that I have. My issue is, with this is this rail trail, rail trail, yes, is something that needs to be maintained a lot, around the clock. It's not something I believe, which I guess you guys are checking into also. It can't be like left for a couple days or closed. It needs to be open. It's not like the county rail trail. I have roads I have to take care of. That's my #1 priority. And I just don't feel that I'm with these guys. I just don't want to take up on something that I don't think we can keep up with, and then have, people complaining. And after a storm's done, we're not done. We got pipes to open, bridges to clean, snow to push back. Our job's just not done, and then I just don't want to beat these guys up either. So I'm still going to stay with no. I'd love to help out, but
And it all comes at once if there's a heavy snowstorm.
Yep.
So that'll be a separate line item.
Yeah, it's a line item, it's, I think, $14,000 that it's there.
I remember saying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is unfortunate, and it is the trail to the train because it is not the rail trail, and our agreement is that we have to maintain it.
And they
Yeah,
won't take-
this was done totally separate and specifically from the train to the town of Wassaic.
and we don't think they'll take
I
it
think I
back.
saw a notification from you that you checked somebody checked the contract or the deed or whatever of maintenance on it, that we were required to maintain that section.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's
Yeah.
no way around it, got to do it. All right.
I'm probably
It's a- it's a
I don't know
public-
who would come after you. I guess we could try.
We
I'd like to put a rope up there and wait till the sun melts
The
it,
agreement
but-
to the bond is it was a public access way walkway.
Right.
So that's how we got the bond, so
Yeah, okay.
we're in it.
The bond, there it is.
Yeah, a little off topic, but it's still not
Yeah.
finished. We're supposed to put lighting on it too, but
I was wondering about that.
yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about that a while back.
Yeah.
And then it kind of
We disappeared.
It sounds like you're off the
Yeah.
hook.
Are there any other questions around the highway for this? So I wanted to bring up one thing here. Under revenue, since we're this specific one, and maybe we can put it to bed, we could add a small amount of highway fund balance to offset the cost, because I think the fund balance there, we have some money there. It could be $25,000 or $50,000 to reduce it some more. We've done that historically. I mean, that's not savings from you, it's just more like, we've had appropriations that weren't completely spent over the last several years.
Where are you, Charlie?
Well, it's in the revenue section under the highway fund, so the...
Does that have a page number?
The next page, just flip it past the appropriations.
Is this page 2? No.
I'm sorry?
Page 6?
6?
No.
It's page 2 of the highway fund.
Okay, 2 in the highway.
No, the big one.
Oh,
Just turn the page. One page. He just has to turn it.
one more?
One more page.
Okay.
Not the budget worksheet, but if you look at the budget itself, the highway
You go
fund.
behind right after the general, after the first E.
Yeah, you got to flip a bunch of pages.
Keep going.
If I flip the page, I get to Parks and Recreation.
So you want to talk about moving that fund balance or using it, or?
Yeah, so fund balance is at the end of every year, you have an appropriation
Starts back
for,
over.
let's say, $10, and you have revenue, so you got revenue from chips, and we raised money through taxes of $10, but at the end of the day, you only spent $8, so you have $2 left over. So we have fund balance in the highway fund, and up until a few years ago, we had actually used fund balance. I want to say from 2022 all the way back to 2016, there was always some fund balance that was put against the appropriation. In many of those years, it was between $40,000 and $50,000. And I want to say we probably will have, right now we have like $200 and some odd thousand of fund balance in just the highway fund. So we could look to, you could decide if it's 25, if it's 50. It will impact the overall town amount that we're going to collect by taxes. So, I mean, I would encourage it.
So on a fund balance, that is, you're saying that we could absorb that into the overall budget at the end to maybe lower the taxpayers' portion?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Okay.
you would put it in the, so, because these are separate funds, the highway fund has its own fund balance, and you would use some of that fund balance for the highway fund's revenue. And we've historically done that. The last several years, we haven't, but I don't, you're looking at me like I'm,
No, she's saying she's.
I'm not taking money away from you at all.
She always sees it that way.
Is that steam?
No.
I will also point out on revenues that if you look at 2023 actual interest and earnings, we got $2,896, and the money was transferred into New York Class, which is a fund that New York State backs up, and this year we've made $15,539, and next year we expect to make $26,000. So that was something.
So to kind of balance it out, what we're doing with as far as the investment aspect of it.
Well, that's true, yeah. So, at the beginning of the year, the board, we have an investment policy, and we opened up an account at New York Class, and so we took our cash reserves that were not needed at the time, and we invested in New York Class. And so the amount that was vested in money from the highway fund has, yes, it's already earned almost $16,000, which is pretty great, because it was just sitting there. It's been sitting there for the last 10 years.
And that's why Marge has fallen in love with you, Charlie.
Takes a lot to get Marge to love you.
It does.
So, are we...
Anything else on
Are we,
highway?
are we open to, using $25,000 or $50,000 from fund balance to?
25, not the whole thing.
Does anybody else have comments?
So there's 200 in there right now, is what you said earlier. That's the fund balance.
Yes.
So your suggestion is either use 25 or 50.
Yes, sir.
Why would you limit it to 25?
Well, I don't want to raid the highway department completely for the whole thing.
It's a fund balance, so I mean, we
Yeah.
already have their budget and everything in that we're
I
looking
know,
at.
I know.
And that is outside of the reserve funds for the highway department,
Right.
which are several hundred thousand.
Outside of
open
the
to half.
reserve funds, yeah.
These are not reserve funds we're talking about.
Right, so it's just there.
Emergency money.
It's like a savings account though for the
Right.
future,
But
for the
no,
future,
it doesn't-
right? So we're talking
Doesn't
about,
get much interest, though.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't get much interest, though, like Charlie
Yeah,
was saying.
but, so this is like a, this 200K is like emergency savings, right? If you go 50,000, we're talking about a yearly thing, you're gonna raid $50,000 from it, it'll be empty in 4 years.
If you
Well-
did that every year, but we're just talking about,
But
Go ahead.
this is a maintenance that we have to do on that rail trail, there's no doubt about it. Right? And if you raid $50,000 every year, then that savings is gone.
But that's not out of maintenance for the rail trail.
no, that's a different line.
Can't use it.
That's a different line.
I thought he was suggesting taking money from the highway department to cover the cost of the snow removal on the rail trail, correct?
No. I'm only saying that we have a significant fund balance. And remember, a fund balance is money you have raised from taxpayers, but you did not use. So
Okay, so
your
you got me
expenses
confused. You
were,
must have went a different direction, you got me confused.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were discussing was the...
I think because we got into the whole rail trail,
We were discussing
yeah.
the rail trail, the snow removal, we were discussing that, and then you started talking about...
So I apologize. Rail trail has nothing to do with our highway fund. I think Brad wanted to ask if like the highway department was willing to start doing it, but it is not part of the highway
Oh,
department.
you're up,
Right,
Megan.
right.
What do you got?
Megan.
And this-
I was totally following the wrong discussion.
that money's also, there if our roads get, if we end up like Carolinas, Florida, this has got a big storm.
That's a good point.
That money's there to protect us for emergencies.
Yeah, I'm not, so if it's just a savings fund, we need to keep the savings. I'm willing to invest it, but not
So I
take
might
it
be
to-
wrong, but what I heard Charlie say earlier, or someone say, there is the emergency fund, and then there is the fund balance. These are two different fund. Is that correct?
Yes.
I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. So you have the emergency fund, it's one amount. And then you have a fund balance, that's a separate amount. They're not the same.
Different.
That's correct. Do you happen to know what the emergency fund balance is?
It sounds to me like you're asking about the reserve fund.
Well, she's talking about things that we didn't anticipate for, like a 100-year storm or, yeah.
It's the fund balance she's saying now. She's saying that, oh, that's the emergency fund in case something happens.
Are these two different things?
No, is there a separate emergency fund in other?
There is no such thing as an emergency
Okay,
fund.
so that's what,
There's,
We're talking about one thing then. That's my question.
right.
Okay.
Fund balance is what she's calling her emergency.
I think that's what.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right, well, that's big,
And you're
that's
talking
different.
about-
If that money's gone,
Invest a portion of it.
We already invest a portion of it, and it's made it's made whatever, $16,000. I'm saying that we should take a portion of that money and use it as revenue against the
The investment
expenses.
You're saying take the investment aspect of it?
If, you can take, you want to take a
So-
shot at it?
To kind of get, to try to get to the end of
Tag
this.
team, yeah.
Let's
What a
not-
good idea, Dawn.
When you get
Well,
to
we
the end
should
of this,
understand it.
if you start going back further, and I know there are some of us here at the table that I'm sure have experience and understand it, but what you're looking at the budget, it says Megan is going to needs X amount of dollars to run the highway fund.
Yep.
When she needs that much amount of money, you have to raise that money by taxes.
Okay.
What Charlie is trying to suggest is that you can take some of the savings, what people have already paid you, take it to offset the taxes to this year. So if this year, on one of the funds, it's saying she needs, this is in a different fund, they need $1.4 million. If you take a little bit out of your reserve fund and you, just let's say the 0.4, so say we use 100,000, now you're only raising taxes by $1.3 million. So he's asking and basically proposing to the board, do you want to less the taxes for each person this year by using our savings money?
In other words, is that
It
someplace we
has nothing to
can?
do with a particular line or
Okay.
rail trail
Yeah,
or
all right.
anything.
Yeah, sorry.
She has savings money. Does she want to save taxes to the payers this year by saying, hey, can we borrow a little bit and give a tax savings break to the taxpayers this year? Or do you want to keep accumulating for a rainy day?
Gotcha, I understand
Well,
now.
we probably are going to have to find some way to mitigate against the amount of money.
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking too, right? We're proposing to purchase a truck for the town or for the building department, and
Can't
then.
touch those funds, that's highway.
I know, but it still affects the overall budget in, right?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, as a whole, but
And then
keep
we
your
also have
funds separate.
our ambulance cost is also going up, right? So if we take a little money from there, it offsets a little bit.
But that comes later on, once we get all this in queue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but when it all comes together, it's all one piece of the pie. If we take a
Yeah.
little bit from here, it kind of offsets everything else.
Right.
All right, I agree to that. 50.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
But I was just
That's
going to
all I
say,
needed.
is there any rules on how much you can have? Like, I know, I think in the school district, it's X number of dollars that you, and then
And what's it
you
being
have to.
spent for, and do you have it allocated?
Yes, exactly. Because, I mean, you know, the New York State doesn't want you to collect money from taxpayers that you're not using.
That you're not needing.
And so that's ultimately what fund balance is.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that the board consider either $25,000 or $50,000 to be used from fund balance in the highway department, in the highway fund, as revenue to offset their appropriation.
I understand that.
Okay.
Can we?
You have to tell, he's
Yeah.
asking for.
I'm asking for a direction.
I said before, I'm agreeable to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50/50.
50,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are we at the? Okay, we got 30 minutes.
Yes.
gonna rock
DJ,
and
did you
roll.
want to talk about recreation?
That's it?
I think he's going
That's
to.
it for
Except for
highway.
rec.
Now recreation.
So one of the big ones is the rec director. We knocked her down to 20 hours a week. We've tried that before. I mean, 32 is what Peter and I really thought we needed.
That's what I originally thought was the agreement was 32. And then last week it was said that the rec department agreed to 20. That's what I was told 2 weeks ago.
Right, so we agreed at the last meeting to post the position as recreation supervisor, different title, and do it for 20 hours. If we want to, if recreation is asking to leave 32 hours in the budget for next year in case we find someone and they prove to create programs and we want to
That
then.
was my understanding is we'll go through the winter months, find somebody that we like, hopefully, and, you know, we could up her hours in the spring.
That's where I was confused. Is I was under the understanding from that it was 32 hours the whole time, and then all of a sudden I was told 2 weeks ago that you agreed to only 20 hours. Now you're saying totally different.
So we
Well, I
agreed,
don't know if I agreed. It was put to me that we wanted to put it out to, you know, find somebody, and something to do with having to have certain credentials or something, civil service, you know, you had to go off of a list.
Yeah.
If it's
Exactly.
Hiring, yeah.
So if we go to 32 hours, we have to find somebody off the list. If we get somebody at 20 hours and we want to raise them to 32, they should have to take.
I still believe we're going to have a hard time really finding anybody that wants a job for 20 hours whenever you're going to eat up, if
We might find somebody, an older person that's retired, that has
yeah,
some time
and they're not going to be,
And I-
it's not going to be the same. I'm just having a hard time believing we're going to find anybody at 20 hours, that's all, to fill that position.
Well, it looks like you just split it right in half, so, you know, I had said that hopefully we'll have enough in the budget that we could raise the hours in the spring, and everybody shook their head, but I didn't really get an answer.
Okay.
So, but
So, I mean, as it's currently proposed, we're only doing 20, correct?
that's what it looks like.
That's what we're budgeted for?
And what do we have to do to, if we want to increase that later in the year? Is there a way to do that?
We would have to budget for it now.
So the board can modify the budget at any point and take money from another budget item, a budget line. You do that frequently as you move money around. So one other line would just need to be underspent. I will say, please consider if you hire somebody for 32 hours, you then make them eligible for health care benefits.
yeah.
And the cost to the town currently under our plan is about $24,000. So it's just not, you know, the hourly rate, but
Hourly
it's
rate,
that
yep.
too.
I understand that, but it's, my argument has been is that if we're going to if we look at surrounding towns,
We just don't have volunteers to do all this stuff. We got soccer going on us now.
we don't have the same amount of volunteers that we used to, right? Because back back before 2000, I volunteered for 15 years in rec, baseball and all that, and there was a ton of us. Now it's not as many. If we're going to keep recreation going in this community, we got to start looking at actually paying the cost of what it is, like the other towns are doing. You know, Dover has 3 full-time employees for recreation. Millbrook has 4 full-time employees for recreation. And we're struggling to even get one.
Well, Vicki and I fought very hard for that position in
Yep.
the first place.
Yep.
But, I mean, none of the baseball programs now are run through Amenia. They're run through Little League and other programs. The summer camp seems, at this moment anyway, kind of impossible to make work just because of the competition from adjacent towns.
Well,
So it actually is less,
I
yes.
disagree with that. I had multiple comments from young mothers that if we had kept with the program this year, that more would have signed up for next year.
I'm sorry, kept with what program?
If we would have went ahead and ran the program instead of canceling it.
For 8 kids?
Yeah, we would have gotten hollered at either way. If we ran it for 8 kids, we got hollered at. If we canceled it, we got
hollered at, right?
It was a no-win situation for us.
I think we should have just went with the camp this year personally, but
Okay, well,
We're beyond
wasn't that like how many $1,000s per kid? It was kind of ridiculous. I mean, you zeroed out the dance program because you thought it was too expensive
And
No.
my
per
thought
kid.
is, you know, Millerton's gonna have a pool up there, and when they had the pool before, half the kids went up there anyway.
okay.
And I already spoke to them about that, I mean, in terms of us using it, and they seemed like, well, I mean, anything could happen
Yeah.
in terms of who the supervisor is there, but at the moment, they, the people who are actually raising the money for the pool wanted to know whether Amenia would like to,
Okay.
you know, use that as well.
At the end of the day, it's up to you as how we run this summer camp or not run the summer camp, but I do agree that we need to at least prepare for a possibility
Prepare
of
for it.
32 hours.
You know, we're probably gonna push in the spring to have her, I mean, everybody thought Katie didn't do a lot, but there was a lot of stuff you didn't see her doing.
Oh,
There was a lot of stuff that she shouldn't have been doing that she was doing also, but that was, you know.
But I know she spent a huge amount of time planning for the summer camp, and
Yeah, good.
other adjacent towns just decided to open their own, so the competition was, I think, what ultimately
Could I
killed that.
ask a question? So if you decided to run the camp and you got 8 people, couldn't you adjust the staff? So if you have 50 campers, then you need more staff. If you have 8, you could have 1 craftsperson or 1 person to so could you consolidate
You still need, you know,
the nurse? Yeah, no, I know that.
The past rec director had her own thing as to whether she was going to be, how involved she was going to be with summer camp and how much she was going to do. It was complicated.
Well, I mean, she explained to me that part of the problem was just that trips were planned to places that wouldn't do it for 8 kids. I mean,
Right.
or, you know, and buses, they had ordered big buses, not smaller buses. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I think by the time it was camp time, when it was that number of kids, it sort of the math didn't work anymore.
Well, if you start summer camp at 9 o'clock in the morning, most working parents are going to say no because they got to be at work already. That was my biggest argument,
Basically, it's the bus driver.
right? Because
So, yes.
working parents have to drop their kids off 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning so they can get to work. If you're not starting summer camp until 9,
Well, I wasn't consulted on that personally, and, you know, the rec commission may decide to do it differently
Yep.
the next time. I just don't want, I mean, a lot of time and energy went into planning for that, and, you know, I mean, this is the second year we haven't been able to pull it off, so I think at a certain point we have to cut our losses. Anyway, did you, I'm sorry?
More than 2 years, but yes.
Okay, so, yes, that's right, 'cause they were the COVID years.
Yeah.
So, DJ, is there other stuff that we should discuss in this budget?
Well, the other thing is, we had in for a grant writer. Is that someplace else in the budget? I don't see it on.
I think that the grant writer is going to be through the town's grant writer.
Yeah, we did, so.
That's what you told me
that's
last
what we were
year.
told
I'm
last year.
sorry?
That's what you told me last year. year, and we didn't,
Well, because it was a project that was quite, I mean, would have used an enormous amount of her time.
and I'm sure there's more projects that are going to use enormous amount of her time.
Well,
I just want to make sure.
Didn't the rec department end up hiring the same company that?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so even if it would have required the same amount of time, the company still took on the work. But the rec department was told
Well,
last
you had a
year that the
budget
town
on
would cover the grant writer, and then this year the town said no.
I was told that you were at your budget limit, and you didn't have enough money for it, so that we took money out of ours to,
That was true, and we have, your budget request was $15,000 for a grant writer, and that amount was added to the grant writing
Oh,
line
that-
item.
that was
So that
my
was
question.
increased,
That was the
yes.
question.
It was,
So we-
I'm sorry, the total was increased to allow
What
for
if we
time.
want to use a different grant writer? Is that, we wanted to hire somebody different besides who we had?
Well, hiring somebody would go through the town board, but the town board has a contract for a certain number of hours with that one. The town board could clearly, sign a
Okay,
contract
yeah,
with
I mean,
another
we could-
one.
Just curious on
Yeah.
that. We can use the same one, but I know that Millerton has gotten a lot of money, and they use a grant writer right in town that's really good. That's done a lot. Because we really need to get a grant going for the playground equipment, and the ballpark lights are something that's going to be a big issue.
The ballpark lights.
No,
are
the
big
playground
enough.
equipment, I mean, the playground equipment obviously is something that's really needed, and.
That's what I mean, but we
that's-
need somebody to get right on to write the grant.
Right.
So I just
I-
want to make
I-
sure that we are able to use a grant writer this year.
I had asked about the grant writer from Millerton, and I was told that they didn't have any availability. So if that's changed, find that out and let me know. But that was what I was told last year, because it is something we considered.
Yeah.
DJ, what is the transportation E? CE?
The transportation buses and
Because that one went up like 67%, so that's a contract already, right?
That's line, it's like about the sixth one down on
Yeah.
the under contractual expenses.
Contractual expenses, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that was all for,
Wasn't it a lot of that
yeah,
camp trips, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did have a question about that, because, it appears that there's no summer camp, because there was no revenue for summer camp or no staff for
Right.
summer camp. So then, is the 7,500 increase from the 45, is that for another program that would require transportation?
I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to ask.
Yeah, we need to know that.
Yeah, 45.
Okay.
Certainly worth asking.
And the other question I wanted, that I had, was on the revenue side, because I believe that you guys are planning on doing is it a soccer camp?
Soccer.
Soccer camp, yeah. So,
It's taking over youth soccer.
Yeah.
okay. So there was, on the revenue side, there was $8,000 in projected revenue, and I had asked a couple of times what the basis of that was, like the number of people and the, price per person.
Right, yes. We'll have to decide what the price is per person.
Put it in the revenue line.
Well, I had asked all the departments that have some kind of revenue element to them to project what their revenue would be based on either transactional or something like that, so
So this year it was 60, around 6,400.
that,
Cost, that would
For
be
soccer,
revenue. 8,000 we put in for the cost to run the program. 6,400 in registrations is what would be the,
brought back in.
what brought back in, correct. So that money,
let me just look and see, because I didn't,
because I had the numbers. They
Revenue.
didn't.
so year-to-date, there was a program that already had $6,500 worth of fees that were collected in the summer at some point?
No,
No,
We're-
we
This is the
didn't.
first year we're going to be taking.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. That's what I was asking.
Yes, I
Yeah,
had a
okay.
meeting with Tricia Lawrence, and we went over her expenses and what it costs to run the program, what got brought back in,
Okay, so you're actually saying it's probably going to be more than, it's like 6,500
is what would be brought in.
brought in instead of the 8?
8 is what we needed added to the budget. I don't know why it got.
Oh, I'm sorry, the expense is 8, but the
Right.
revenue was also 8, which seemed weird.
Right, and I don't think it's going to be a wash.
Okay,
No, it would probably be,
I
closer to
specifically
65.
remember the income with the registration was about 6,400.
okay. So can I change that then to 6,400 from the 8? Okay.
6,400 for what, the revenue coming in.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that's it. Everything else?
Okay. Thank you, and if there are other things you want to let us know at the next meeting, you're more than welcome to do that.
And if the rec department will give me an analysis of like the number of people who've participated in your programs and stuff, I can do a cost-benefit analysis too for the cost of those things that might be helpful for the board.
They could only give you from like last year's registration numbers, right? An average.
Yeah, I mean, the rec director was supposed to do that and obviously didn't, so we
Yeah.
kind of need that information.
So on the Parks and Rec section, are we okay with everything that's there?
Well, are we in agreement that we're going to, if needed per the department request for 32 hours, we're going to take it from someplace else later on? I mean, how do we want to deal with this?
That sounds like the idea. I mean, it sounded like the rec department first had to make a decision of whether the person they got, what they wanted to have that person for more hours. And I guess if they were, creating programs or spending enough time in the
I'm
field.
just asking the town board if they're in agreement with that,
I think one of the big
or do we
things
need to
is,
address it now?
when we hire somebody else, we're gonna have her do a ledger, so we can see.
I'm sorry, do a ledger.
Do a ledger, so
Right.
we see what she's doing, at each
Yeah,
month, we
that's-
can say, I spent my time here, I spent my time there, but, with Katie, we.
No, I know, it would be really good.
No.
No, it would be really good to have that information. That seems completely
Right.
reasonable, so,
So
and
then
that
we can
will
say,
help make
I
that
spent X
decision.
amount of time on this, I didn't have enough time to do this, so, we should.
So I'm just asking the town board if they're agreeable to this for next year, if it's needed, or is this something that we need to hash out now?
I think if it's needed, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that sounds fine. I
But
mean, I
if we
think
have a whiz that can get everything done in 20 hours, why not, right?
Yep.
So I think we have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I really think we need to try and give it a chance to try to find somebody.
Okay,
'Cause
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Has it been posted in the paper yet? It has. So it just went live. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Is
I'm
the
good.
only place that we do advertisement in the
Channel
paper?
22 website, Millerton News.
So last time, when we hired someone, we had no success with those two sites. No, I had to go through, what did I use?
You used,
Yeah, because,
you paid yourself to put it on Indeed.
Yeah.
but are there other things that we should be looking at? I know there was concern about spending any money on that, which seemed kind of strange to me because, we're talking about a salary, so the idea of not.
So we already have one letter of interest.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that last time, I took it upon myself and paid for to post the job site on, what was it again?
You said Indeed.
Yeah, and that's where we got like 8, 9.
And I'm asking, are there other places we should be posting besides Indeed this?
I don't know where else. I just
Well,
know
there's
Indeed.
LinkedIn, there's other places, but, I also wonder, the website obviously is a good place, but I wonder how effective the newspaper is.
Probably not, because my sense is very few people actually subscribe. Very few
But
people I know do.
we're required, I think, by New York
No,
State.
no, I understand that
Yeah.
we do, but, and that's not, I was not suggesting we not post
Yeah.
it in the paper.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe we should look at other ways
Well,
of getting
that's what I had
it out.
suggested a couple years ago, is Indeed, whatever. I don't know what website would be appropriate, but I know Indeed is pretty popular with the younger crowd.
Can I bring up one thing that I forgot to mention when we were going over the payroll? The Enhancement Committee has had a really difficult time doing the watering on the pots around, which look amazing. So if everybody knows, there's large flower pots that are there at 44, 343 and whatnot. They actually take a bucket and they go back and forth from the bank. And there was a thought that the grounds people in the Park and Rec
And then the new
division
program
could do that.
is the same.
They could get a hose, they could,
Sure.
and then maybe we put a few more
I'm
hours.
sure if you sent an email to the rec department, they could.
I mean, DJ, do you think that's possible within their schedule?
I think it would probably be one,
Right now it is, because they don't have much to do, but they're done at the end of the month, so.
Oh, that's true. Well, but the plants hopefully will be
Yeah.
too.
It's for, I would suggest send an email to the rec chair, or to the rec chair, and let them share it with and they can talk to their.
do you think that
Like,
they,
rec director too, she
yeah,
can,
do you feel they,
go over, see what they're doing, and
Leadership program.
Right.
So, and my question is just, do you feel there's enough hours that are allotted to them already?
We added, I didn't,
We're gonna talk
we went from 8 hours to 10 hours per person.
Oh, I'm sorry, just.
Sorry. I have to ask about something else on here when you're
All
done.
right, so our current staff also works a full-time job at Dover. So that's my understanding, he's kind of comfortable with the hours that he works.
You mean with 8 rather than 10?
Well, I don't know. Did he ask for 10 now?
We asked for the extra hours.
Okay.
Because they needed
He needed a little more. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nicole, what was your?
either that or hire another person.
Yeah.
Hire another person to put it.
DJ, could you go up to the mic? Could
You have to go up to the mic.
No, because I wanted to ask you, the new program development, the youth program, is that where the leadership program was? Is
Yes.
that
Yes.
line?
Yes,
So keeping that in?
yes.
Because I believe Millerton is not going to,
Yeah, Millerton is not matching that anymore. I covered that.
That doesn't mean we can't,
Okay,
help
did-
them out, but yeah.
did you have that conversation with anybody at the school?
Well, John, I figured John would be the one to talk to and
Okay.
stuff, but I'm sure
Yeah, because I think,
I'd like to keep it up. I mean, they did a lot with it last year.
The kids seem to like it.
It
yeah,
gives them something to plan around and some money to
Yep.
spend.
just someone needs to notify them that that's all they're going to have to use
So
for it.
it's something that I did for the past 2 years. If you need help for it, just reach out. And I'll continue to help you with it.
Yeah, well, I see Jonathan all the time, but
Yep.
so I just talk to
I
him.
mean, frankly, this is just me. I'd like them to be a little more challenged in terms of spending the money. I mean,
So, yeah, so that's the other conversation too, is that it's not being used for any leadership program. It's going directly to their community day.
Okay, so then it just needs to, all we got to do is challenge the kids, right? Tell them this is what we want.
Okay.
They have asked, they asked for the town board to give them a specific kind of like layout of what they wanted to see from them, and it never happened. But they did ask for that the past 2 years.
Okay, so aside from the revenue on that, in the park and rec, everything else remains the same here.
Okay?
Is that correct?
Well, we have to get that
I
one
need to take
question
a little
answered.
break before
Sorry?
we start the
We have to
town
get an
board.
answer to that one question on the transportation.
Oh, the
what that's
What it's for.
intended.
Yeah,
But we don't know why, because if we're not having camp.
yeah, we need to know what, and DJ didn't have an answer
So
to.
it's 7,500.
So for the next round, I'm just asking, do you want it to remain 7,500 or do you want to reduce it or remove it?
Well,
Or
we don't know what it's for. You know what it's for?
Oh,
Could you go up?
wow, thank you for
Mike.
coming,
All
Judy.
right.
When we talked about it in terms of if we partnered with Millerton for a summer camp program, that we would contribute that for the trips to pay for theirs. So that's why it was in there. I'm not sure we can do that now, but nevertheless, that was the thinking when we put it in.
Okay.
Thank you.
so it was that we would spend 75, would we have revenue on the other side of the 75? Or are we busing kids from,
It wasn't really for busing. What it was for was, so Millerton wouldn't charge Amenia kids more money, was what our thought was, that we would supply something for them, whether it was a transportation for them or some way to give them some money to offset our kids going, so our kids didn't have to pay more money.
I got you. So Millerton has some kind of tiered system that if you're outside of their town, you pay more.
Yes.
And this was a subsidy for Amenia
cover the
kids.
gap.
We weren't
Okay.
sure how we could do it. We'd have to work it out with them, but that's what that 7,500 was for.
Okay. And you guys want to leave that
So it's
appropriation?
increased now from 45 to 75, and that's okay.
Yes, because it was the other was for our camp down here and stuff.
I see, okay.
So I'm just asking if the board wants me
If
to
that-
leave that as 7,500.
I mean,
Yes.
if the intent of that money is to make up the gap between what Millerton would charge their kids and what Millerton would charge our kids, so that our kids would be paying, essentially what the Millerton campers are paying. I'm fine with that. I mean, I think it's certainly less expensive than us running summer camp.
For
So,
$15,000,
yeah.
Well,
So-
I think it was, budgeted 32, 35 last year?
30, but that wasn't including the transportation
Right.
trips,
Right.
so it comes
Yeah.
out to about 50.
I mean, I think that's a good way to do it.
Sure,
because
sure,
it
that's
means
an
that
excellent
we don't
compromise.
have to pay the premium, so I'm all right with that.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes. You want to see if we can get through one section? that's
No,
just-
I need to take a break
Which,
before we start the town board meeting.
well, we actually have to do a quick executive session.
Well, I'm going to step out for a minute.
You step out right
I need a
now.
minute.
So maybe if we start at the top of the general fund, under town board.
Ooh, town board, that sounds like fun.
So
Are we back to the big book,
we're
Charlie?
back to the very,
Page 1 of 8 on the top of the book.
Thank
the
you.
top, yeah, the actual budget.
The real
Next time,
budget.
Charlie, I'm going to make you number them sequentially, so
I know, I'm sorry, I
it's,
will.
it's really okay. Just-
So 600 in conferences, this is pretty straightforward from the last. And remember that all the PS lines we've already reviewed.
Yep.
I already have a question.
Yep.
Well, because the actual already was 1,100.
Yeah, it was for, Dawn, was it 2 extra people? That it was all the new people who went to,
To the training, the
That was for the training
Association of
that
Towns
the newly
training.
elected, those that
So
were
will
able to
will that
attend.
600 be enough for whoever's in January?
I think so, that came
Or should
from.
that be bumped up?
I've always said it needed to be bumped up because everybody should be doing their newly elected training. But
Well,
Even if they're
so
not newly elected?
there'd be one person.
there's the newly elected training and then there's AOT training. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that
Oh,
we
I
paid
see.
for those to go to AOT, that came out of that line. And then, Roseanne, I know you went up for the newly elected.
I thought, I'm just making sure there's enough there, because I see it already went over, and somebody's going to go in February, so.
So what should it,
I mean, I can't,
Should we say 800? Are people
Well, because you
comfortable with
figure
that?
it was at least 2 nights, right? So you figure hotel and to
So what-
sign up.
I
it
mean-
wasn't hotel though, was it? We didn't.
yes, we did.
paid-
Yeah.
Oh,
We paid for hotels.
living it up, aren't you?
Hey, I didn't get a hotel out of
Well, it's
that.
either all
There's
or the
some
two.
there's those that went to AOT that have other means, and then there's those that go to AOT and stay in the hotel. So, I mean, it's entirely up to you guys.
Okay, 1,000? Are people comfortable with 1,000?
Fine with me.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
1,000. Maybe we can get through the town justice in a minute and a half.
Okay.
We have the 78 for the PS line is the 2 justices and the 2 clerks.
Getting the 3% increase,
Yes, the 3% increase.
right?
Most everything else here remained relatively the same.
Everything stayed the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have any comments on that section, any changes?
I don't.
Okay. So maybe at this point, since I guess the town board meeting is going to start, in the preliminary budget, I will take the few changes that we discussed tonight and incorporate them, and then everything else that was presented here will carry over to the preliminary budget. All right?
Okay. And we'll just have to go through that stuff. I mean, our next meeting should be longer anyway because we don't have a board meeting after it. So
Yeah, it can go way into
should
the
have
night.
more time to do that. Oh,
Okay.
great.
Were there any other questions
Can't-
on this while I'm here? Anything?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. While you're looking through the revenue section of it, I think that we sort of approached it conservatively, and we can have that discussion next week if we want to bump up some of those revenue numbers. Probably the biggest one that we get is mortgage recording tax, which comes from the state to us. It was down in the last 2 years. We can decide whether we think that that's going to pick up in 2025, which it probably will, given the decrease in mortgage rates. There'll be more activity possibly.
Okay. Great. Thank you for your many spreadsheets, Charlie. And we will pick this up again next Thursday at 5:30. I'm going to have to actually throw everyone out of the room for 5
Do you want to
minutes.
just run to my office?
Can you just run to your office?
Do you want to do that since they're all seated?
They all want to just run to their office.
Do you want to?
Oh, should we leave? Okay, we could leave. That's a good idea. I had no idea what you were talking about there. For a minute, Dawn? Yes, let's go into Dawn's office. You can all stay. I take it back. You can stay. We'll leave.
Stay. Can you make a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we are going to,
Go into executive session?
Yeah.
oh yeah, you should be coming into that too. Sorry, thank you, Megan. I make a motion that we go into executive session, that we leave the room to do that, and then we come back.
Second.
Brad?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't even know the time, 7:02.
Okay. I move that we come out of executive session, as much fun as it was. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Return.
We returned from executive session. The budgeting was really fun. To a regular meeting,
We just changed time, didn't it? 7:23.
7:23.
7:23.
Okay.
And that's Leo, and who's seconding his?
I'll second that.
Supervisor?
Yes?
Councilmember Schweikert, yes?
Yes.
You know your name?
Yes.
Yes, and yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so we're back, regular meeting.
Okay.
Supervisors report, right at the
For
regular.
anyone who wasn't here,
public
which
comment.
means George and Judy, you know what, the doors are there and there. We have to do that, and you can salute the flag on your own time, because we already did that. Oh, I'm sorry, my thing went off. Okay, so, public comment. Does anyone have public comment this time? Wow, okay. So, supervisors, oh, that's me. Supervisors report. So,
Did you make copies for us or no?
No, it's in our email.
I know it's in our email.
You want to read it?
Sorry.
I can pull it
No,
up.
it's all right.
I didn't make paper copies. Oh, look, you're going to share. Okay, so complaints this week. Was that the police? No. They're coming for you? Oh, okay. So I received a number of calls and emails from residents upset because their campaign lawn signs had been stolen or run down. I mean, I shouldn't have to remind anyone that in a democracy we're allowed the right to advertise our political choices, which means that stealing them isn't only illegal but unpatriotic and divides our community. So just don't do this through the election cycle. I know it happens all the time, but last year there were almost good reasons for it. But anyway, just don't do that. It's embarrassing to us all. There was another homeless individual who appeared last week and was seen sleeping outside in public places. He also was seen panhandling near Fountain Square. The situation was addressed, and although he refused any social services from the county, it appears he's moved on. If you see him again or anyone threatening, let us know. The NEC satellite office, we were told, we expected staff to move in this week, but I don't see them, so I guess they haven't. And I'm not going to keep promising until they're actually here. However, we did get a flyer, which I made for the board members, at least. We did get a flyer that NECC made for the Amenia Farmers Market. So the winter market will be starting in the not-too-distant future. And they made this basically to send to vendors to try to get vendors, because we were too late to do that. We were too late to do that for the summer market. But this means it's actually happening, so there's that. The striping of the town hall lot, after numerous emails back and forth with Stone Leaf, they scheduled the machine for Friday, November 1st, but if the machine, which the machine owner thought they might actually be here sooner than that, and that will be great, because November 1st is supposed to be the start of the farmer's market, and it would be nice if there weren't wet paint lines. The sidewalk to Beekman Park, New York State DOT actually contacted Labella about the progress of the job. And it's like, well, it's your fault the job got delayed. Are you kidding me? But they weren't kidding, apparently. The contractor gave a cost for his additional work, And Labella still has to survey the opposite side of the road in order to get an okay from DOT. So it's looking like, according to the contractor, that work won't start until next spring. Hopefully it'll happen early enough next spring that people who are going to Beekman Park for the summer can use it. And we're awaiting a breakdown of additional costs. We know that our state representative, Anil Bifan, has offered to contribute to that, but we don't know how much. Although he did put us on his list of potential member items. The LED message board, we're waiting to finalize the design and get costs. The boardroom AV, we received a proposal for an upgrade from the consultant I spoke to, and I need to review the specs with Mike Flint, which we're not going to be able to do during this meeting, obviously. Ambulance service, we're currently in negotiations to secure emergency services for the town. The negotiations are ongoing due to a very large proposed increase for the services. And we're still trying to get a contract that provides the highest level of services at the least expense to the taxpayers, because we feel like Russian roulette is an appropriate health care measure. Highway employees, we're continuing meetings with the union rep from UPSEU about a new contract, and negotiations are ongoing. Our labor attorney has been talking to their labor attorney and all that stuff, but it's not resolved yet. As to the highway garage, the archaeological survey that was requested by the New York State Historic Preservation Officer was approved, so that's a good thing. And that means SECRA is complete, and we're hoping to vote, well, I think we are going to vote for an engineer architecture firm later tonight by resolution, so that can get started. And the preliminary, I mean, if we start now, their preliminary schedule had the work starting in August of next year, which would be kind of exciting. The water district, according to the water department secretary or the billing clerk, the new meter reading equipment worked flawlessly, so that's exciting. And the generator that is part of the equipment up at the top there has been repaired. There are still, I know from the water committee, that there are still some issues of houses that are not still metered or that still have dysfunctional meters. I'm pretty sure that our water operator has ordered all of those now. There's already been a first batch in, but I think he's ordered the rest. So that should be some relief to people in the district. The gym floor, I actually didn't look in today, but I know that they've been working since last Monday. The vinyl tile and all the thin plywood on top was removed. And we found that only about 200 square feet of old boards had to be replaced before they sand and finish. We're kind of a little delayed now because in order to put down the new boards in those sections, they had to chop out some concrete because they did a very strange installation in those two areas where they were replaced by plywood, basically. There weren't boards at all. So anyway, they had to order a maple of a special thickness, which apparently shipped yesterday or the day before, and so they will start sanding the floor at the beginning of next week, and hopefully they'll get the maple a day or two after that, and and then it's filling those holes and starting to finish the floor, and all the lines for the floor get applied in between layers, so that if you rough it up to put on an additional layer in the future, take the lines off, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it's coming along. Sorry to go on so long. Dangerous pets. Our animal control officer has been seeing an increase in dangerous dog complaints, so please be cautious around unknown dogs, and please report to the animal control officer any suspicious dogs you see. And people who own dogs, just make sure that your dog is registered and has had a rabies shot, because that makes things even more complicated if they haven't. The rail trail, Dutchess County has been repaving the rail trail from Route 343 north to the town line. We had conversations last time about repairs to the handrail, and again, Megan her crew did repairs to the decking already, but we have to come up with a detail to repair the handrails
Or
in the
maintenance.
condition. What?
Or maintenance to it. one of the
Yeah,
two.
right. Well, they're twisted ones, so one way or another, we have to fix those, but yes, maintenance too. You may have noticed, but the climbing hydrangea, the vines on the building were trimmed back, and the tree limbing up will follow. And the last thing is that the United States Department of Transportation Connecting Communities Planning Grant got submitted. Brenna, our grant writer working with Charlie and I, submitted that Monday. There was not a long time to do it, but she got it done, and she was hopeful, so we'll see. But I mean, it's a federal grant, so who knows? So that's the supervisor.
To come back to the exterior town hall, are we still pursuing this idea of a light planner, or are we gonna nix that and go?
I'm sorry,
towards
of a what?
Light planning or whatever?
No, I think what I'm going to try to do is, since I'm used to be an architect, is to figure out what lights I feel comfortable specifying.
Sounds good.
And if there are specific fixtures, like fixture that's supposed to reach the parking lot from the building, that will talk to a lighting manufacturer and see if they can give us enough specs. to
I
do
mean,
that.
who's the town contracted for our electrical?
Well, our town contractor for electrical is actually backed up for quite a ways.
Okay.
But we actually, John and I just discussed other potential electricians to use, so we'll be reaching out.
Leo, I
I'm
have-
sure that'll be real helpful
Yep.
as well.
What, regarding the dangerous pet complaints,
Yep.
were they centered around the rail trail by chance?
No, there was one on the rail trail, but I think all the others were adjacent to the owners' houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bee,
And they were over a period of time, but it just, she wanted to call attention to that.
the bee situation, has that been totally resolved?
The bee situation, as far as I know, is totally resolved.
Okay.
I don't want to give you wrong information, but as far as I know, it's been totally resolved. So, discussion, oh, no, the town clerk's report, my God.
Okay, so I'm going to be quicker than Leo.
Wow.
Last month, I was so worried about us paying the bills that I said the circulation of September 5th minutes, but I never heard a motion to accept those. So can we do that?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, so one, and then you want a second?
Sure, I'll second.
So Nicole. And Supervisor?
Yes.
Council members?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm so excited last month, spending all that money. So this month, I just want to report the local share for the month of September in the town clerk's office for state, county, and local was $596.20, with the local share being remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $502.70. And thus far, I've received 4 applications for the Economic Development Committee. So with that being said, I know we do have the 10th and the 17th coming up, and I know you're starting off with budget, but did you want to interview those 4
well,
candidates?
I think last time it was suggested that once we gauged how much interest we had, then we needed to create the format or the rules for this committee.
Is that right, Ian? I seem to remember that too. Ian? Oh, the Economic Development Committee?
Yes.
We've gotten some interest, but are we now to?
Oh, I can answer that.
That's why I thought you were going to.
I actually spoke with Ian, and he suggested that the group that are interested, or, get together and come up with the goals and their task and the membership and all that, and then I'll present it to the board, and then we can go from that. So the only way that we can really make a resolution is if we have all that in place, and since they are the ones that are interested and they're the ones that are spearheading it, it would be best that they kind of come up with their plan.
Great. That makes sense.
Was that correct, Ian?
Yeah, you're gonna wanna have everything in place before we do it, but if you have people interested and you want to start to interview with them, then you can start the interview process, but I think you should have something in place before you.
Well, but even
Actually appoint them?
Yeah.
even interviewing, I think if we don't know like what the point of the committee is, it would be better to have that information. And we are kind of busy for the next couple of weeks, so I think that can probably be
Right,
put off,
and
right?
actually,
I would
Since we've,
So how would
since
the
we
4
haven't
of
had
them
it.
know each other's names?
they do, because actually, these are people that Ken had reached out to. Actually, I reached out to
Okay.
2 people, and Ken reached out
So
to
you
one.
want them to decide the scope?
So,
That's what's coming at, that's what
I would
was just
suggest
said.
that we push interviews off until November sometime.
The board should have an idea what they want to do. The board should drive that as far as what they're expecting. And you can do that with input from them, sure. But I think that if you have the interest,
Thank you.
Oh, is your mic on?
So how do we get input from them without?
well,
Having
last
them come
week, or last meeting, we talked about getting to see if anybody had interest before we start the committee. We have people who applied, there's interest in the committee. I think at this point, the board needs to kind of come up with some guidelines of what they want to do, and then you can interview these people and then appoint them, and then you can further develop where they're going to go as far as their charge. But the board should be driving what they want to see from this committee. It's an advisory committee to the board. So
Right,
whatever you
but-
want to see, then that's what you would
But
create.
Rosanna presented stuff to us last meeting.
right,
didn't you?
with Ken,
Right.
the information that Ken sent, I mean, it was pretty well outlined there. So I mean, I think it has to be condensed, maybe, and more general. We need to talk about, and we need to decide on how many members we want to have on the committee. One of the things that came up is, do they all have to be residents of the town? Is that true, or can they be people who live outside town but have businesses and interests in the town? You know, there's things that, you know, we can decide, but I think I think everybody thought that what Ken had submitted was pretty good.
So then we can simultaneously do the interviews. We can start putting together a resolution outlining what what the board would expect from the committee, and we can have a resolution for the next meeting.
All other committees require town residency, correct?
Town residency, is that
Yeah,
right, Dawn?
yeah.
Yeah. So that may
We
be
would require
problematic.
town residency for this one
But
too.
those people are not, the town are not the people that are going to open in businesses necessarily. So I think, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. And there's one person I know who would be really good on it and does, actually is related to the school and has lived in the town and is living there currently, but I believe is moving, but he'll still be teaching at the school. And one of the pieces of that whole process that Ken was talking about was internships, and he would be wonderful at that. So, you know, I think there's a couple of things, and there are people that are opening businesses in town that, you know, they may not live here.
Well, if they have a business open in the community, that's one thing, they have a set interest, but to have someone living outside of our town with no business interest in the town.
No,
No,
I
that's what Rosanna
specifically
said.
said
He owns
they
a
would
home
have to
here.
have a business.
Okay.
So they could
I'm
live
agreeable with
outside
that.
of town, but they had to have a business in town.
Yeah, okay, I'm agreeable to that.
It's residency. I'm sorry, I'll say what he's thinking. It has to be residency, but there's nothing that prohibits them from attending these meetings and still, you know, participating and being
input.
part of it. There's a
Yeah.
difference between being a member and participation.
I think if you're putting together a committee, the best general guideline that you can work with is that you have a cross-section of your population. You want all different kind of inputs on as to what you're getting. So I think that should be the goal of what you're trying to do. If there are requirements for what the connection is to the municipality, then yes, we should outline those as well. And I can work
And
with
we
you on
actually
those.
have got a pretty good, I think, cross-section and people. The only thing that we're missing, and we can't seem to find, is somebody from the agricultural area. You know, I think it's really important that we have somebody that's somehow related to agriculture, although somebody did actually suggest somebody that might, you know, it might work. The woman, Blake, who does the food to table thing and has a truck that sells the food at a sliding scale.
I guess I need
They're
to get
militant.
out more.
So just to help, I mean, and we can recirculate it because I know your reorg meeting in January was a long time ago, but all committees are established and dissolved by the town board. All committee members must be a resident of the town of Amenia. A committee member may not be on more than 2 committees at one time unless approved by the town board. All committees will have a chairperson. All committees will have a minimum of 3 members plus 2 non-voting town board members. Committees may increase membership with only the town board approval. If committee members misses 3 consecutive meetings, the town board has the right to replace a member with the appointment of a new member. All committee projects recommendations will be presented to the town board at the workshop prior to the town board approval. Written monthly reports or minutes will be given to each board member and town clerk. All committees will be created at the January reorganizational meeting or as needed by the town board.
Okay, so
We
there
have
you
to
go.
change the requirement of it being 2 town board members, because that was changed a few years back, because the town board members, or, you know, it's a lot to go to one meeting as opposed to
But that's what we
twice as many.
currently have.
The-
so-
Yeah, those are the guidelines which have been around, I think, long before I was even here. And almost yearly it comes up, amending these guidelines and revisiting them. I know there's been an enormous amount of projects going on, but it might be something the board want to consider at some point.
So, get back to it, where we were, kind of got off on all this. Are we doing interviews this month, or are we gonna wait until next month?
I think we should wait until next month. I think whether we're, you know, putting a resolution together or whether we're just getting more information.
Well, we really
from
have to
putting-
wait until next month because we don't have the information. I mean, we have information, but it's not in a format that we could put into a resolution.
Yeah, and I also
mean, we
don't
have
think-
all those ideas that should be,
So-
you know.
Yeah,
kind
I
of-
also don't think we have time before the budget is done.
Can I suggest that you send what you circulated to all of us directly to Ian, and he can draft the
I did.
resolution?
Yeah, she has sent it to me before. I didn't recall it just now, I apologize. But if the same resolution that creates the committee, we can do appointments at that time as well. You don't have to wait. So it's really up to the board if they want to, how quickly they want to form this and get this done.
So, when's our next meeting? When's our first meeting in November?
November 7th.
November 7th. So I would suggest that we have our resolution ready by November 7th and do our interviews on November 7th.
I don't think that I mean, we've been like quite a number of decades without an economic development committee, and while I very much want to have one, I'd sort of like, I mean, before we're interviewing people, I'd like to know what the committee's supposed to do. So, I mean, I think we should like get that established and then.
So wait a little more?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we did it the second meeting in November, I could live with that.
And the
Does that give
process-
enough time, Rosanna, do you
And the
think?
process for that would be how? How would that work?
I'm sorry, which?
How are we going to, we have what Dawn just read, but we also have to come up with their task, right? So what is the process in doing that?
I don't think there's any problem with you getting together informally with the people that you've put together
Okay.
with experience in this.
That's what I'm
And,
asking.
you know, and just draft, I mean, you basically have an outline for that. I would just kind of try to draft the committee goals. I mean, it shouldn't be, I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of what we need.
Right, and that's what I'm asking. So we can still get together informally and then bring something for the board to look at, to work on, so that we have something, and we're not sitting here
Well-
trying to come up with something.
You'll be creating a scope, which you're going to present to the board. The board will analyze that scope, and then there's a vote as to how that wants to proceed. So you will spearhead the scope of the Economic Development Committee and then present it to the board.
Right,
And then the
and you
board
can
will.
certainly meet with whoever you want, because it's a free country, as they say. So, okay, go ahead, Dawn, sorry to interrupt.
That was a long,
I know, that was a conversation, that was not me. That was all I had for this evening.
Wow, okay.
I just didn't know
So-
if I had to schedule interviews, that's why, so.
Okay.
I will reach out to
And
them.
we said
though.
no. So, I'm sorry, committee, we usually do that once a month, not twice, but if there's stuff that's, you know, the stuff that's important, we could make an exception.
Sorry, yeah, there's only 2 things I wanted to mention. So for I'm not on the water committee, I'm just helping Nancy and those people. But after this quarter's meter reads, Nancy's putting together a report for malfunctioning meters, and we'll be sending out next week either a letter or a postcard to those homeowners who have a meter that is failing. We want to replace those meters, and so for people who don't know, a lot of those meters are actually inside people's homes. So we hope people will reach out to Nancy and schedule time when VRI can replace the meters. And then the following week, I think she and maybe some others will start calling homeowners so that those meters can be replaced.
Charlie, do they need to be outside the house in order to be read with the new equipment, or can they be read through the walls? like
Through the walls,
X-ray
yeah, it's
glass?
radio equipment, yes.
Radio equipment,
So,
okay.
and it
So
has
that
been
has
for
been
a
an issue.
while,
Okay.
yes. But it's very important that we replace the broken meters.
Okay.
And then the other thing is the Housing Board. We're very excited that Hudson River Housing and an investment and partner with them have just closed on a property across from Freshtown. That is going to be a proposed workforce housing for sale development. So it will be anywhere between 25 and 28 single-family homes.
Starter homes even.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a really amazing development, and I would imagine they will be making a application to the planning board for that subdivision within the next probably month or so.
Yeah.
So we will be sending out an email, and hopefully the town board members can post it on their Facebook pages and stuff, a link for people to sign up so that we can reach out to them once the application is
I mean, for the homes.
for the homes,
Okay.
yes, because we want to get a list of all, people in Amenia
Potential.
that are interested in, this opportunity, so that they are the first to know to apply. And the Housing Board also wants to help them, put together that application when they are.
Do you want to do that before there's something for them to look at? I mean, they don't know what these homes are going to
We
look
want
like
to
or
get
be.
anybody who's interested, we want their name and email address,
Okay.
so that when the application is sent out, that they are the first to apply.
Okay, I can get behind that then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it will be first come, first serve, so we want everybody in
Aren't you
Amenia
just
to know.
suggesting that maybe we need a design first of the house, of the homes?
Well, I was suggesting that it might be easier for people, it
Yeah.
might encourage people to apply, but I think if the idea is to sort of make a list of people who are interested, that they can, participate as the thing goes ahead, and I don't think there's any
I
reason
think
that
we'll
we
get
can't.
more, I like your suggestion. I think we'd get greater interest if we had a design of what they're,
Yeah.
I think you should get the data first.
Yeah, we just want to be able to, we want people to know the moment these applications are out there. It will be a phased development, so I would imagine, I don't know, it's 8 or 10 in phase 1, and we'll go. And so once those are sold, then the application will open back up.
Because after they see the design, they always have the opportunity to say no. So let them,
That's right,
let
yeah.
them get their names on a list.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree with Nicole.
Yeah.
And, the application it's not terrible, but it will also require probably, your tax returns and bank statements, because it is income limited. So.
And is
it's-
HRH going to distribute those as well? I mean, we have.
Well, that will be HRH. What
Oh,
the
this
Housing
is
Board
just-
will be
this is the Housing
doing
Board,
is
okay.
we're developing a list of people who are interested, and the
Promote.
moment that HRH publishes the application, we will send that to everybody on our list.
Okay,
So they
great.
know. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Charlie, while you're up there, we are going to presumably look at a bonding resolution the next time we meet, in 2 weeks, not actually the next time we meet, but the next time we have a regular meeting. Do you want to introduce that briefly?
Sure, I can. I think the bonding resolution's it was passed around probably 2 months ago at this point, when we sort of had to stop on our seeker and do the archaeological survey. So it would be a bonding resolution for the capital project of building the highway garage and salt shed. We did just do the budget. We didn't get to that line item, but in the tentative budget, we have included the amount of interest for the debt that we think we'd probably pull down in 2025. So it will be up to the board, hopefully, next town board meeting to, pass that resolution, which is ultimately what kicks us off on that process.
And the board will look at that in the next budget, in our next budget session.
Yeah, I want to say that the interest for, I can't quite off the top of my head, but I think it's about $2 million that might be pulled down in 2025, and the interest on that.
The interest on 2 million, not 2 million.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was, I think it was like $70,000 or something like that.
Okay.
That was included in that. Does anybody have any questions about the bonding resolution or the, pretty straightforward? Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, all right, I have a question, Charlie, but I'll make a statement so you don't have to stand up again. So if I understand correctly, the bonding at this point is just to pay for the professional consultants to get started with the garage, yes or no?
You would pass a bonding resolution for the entire amount of the project.
Right.
And then we would do a ban. The bonding resolution is for a ban and bond. So band is a bond anticipation note, so it's short-term borrowing. And we would pull down on that as we incurred expenses over 2025. Okay. So yes, the first expenses would be paying, portions of the engineering firm to develop the plans.
Okay.
And then they not only develop the plans, but they will develop the bid package that will go out so that you ultimately can select a contractor.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the Conservation Advisory Committee and the Climate Smart Community Task Force had been working for a long time on a grant for getting 2 electric vehicle charging stations. And the site that they had selected was the rail trail parking lot. And the town owns the adjacent parcels, so the idea was that the devices, the charging stations would be on town land facing the parking lot, which is incredibly complicatedly held. But basically, Dutchess County rents from New York State or something. It's like really weird. But anyway, so the idea was to put it on town land so we didn't have to go through 12 agencies. We will have to go through those agencies eventually. But they were told that they needed to get a survey of the property in order to move ahead with this. The grant, I think, is 100%. I mean, I should double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Do you know? Okay, go right ahead, Charlie.
So,
Can I get you a chair?
I think it was actually the Climate Smart group that's inside the CSC, applied for this grant. It is, because we're a disadvantaged community, it is 100%. We've been awarded the grant, $80,000 some odd dollars. I'm sorry? 82, thank you. So $82,000. And what's required is for, and this is all included in the budget that the grant pays for, is to survey the parking lot and to indicate where the charging stations would be. The survey would determine whether the charging stations are on parkland, because that is New York State Parks, or if it's on ours, but there will need to be an easement, and that easement would be between we enter into the easement with the parks as well as Dutchess County, because Dutchess County has a, I don't know, 99-year
If we do it
lease
on town land, we're going to have to develop a whole new parking lot, correct?
Oh, no.
No.
It's like the size of 2 parking meters.
And so my feeling is probably the charging station is going to be on state land, because we don't even know where, our property starts.
It does seem to make more sense, and also because that land has kind of a weird topography right there, too. So
It's right there when you're going up Depot Hill Mechanic, it's
On the
the 2 parking right, exactly on
It's
the left.
currently used as a town dump.
a town dump. I thought
Yeah,
it was for-
I've cleaned a lot of garbage out of there.
I thought it was for
Earth
like
Day.
late night trysts and drugs.
So, but we have to do this before,
Talk about the town piece of land.
it's,
the town piece of
we're
land,
coming
right,
towards
sorry.
the end of our award, so we ultimately have to start actioning on this, this grant.
Okay.
Charlie,
Ian?
So we need to vote on this next week is what I'm hearing?
Housing for Humanity or
Oh, you're a Habitat
Habitat
for
for
Humanity.
Humanity.
yes, that project, wasn't at that site?
It was
So,
that, go ahead.
I think that we should stop thinking that this is going to be on town property and say that the charging station is going to be situated on park property, which is the parking lot. The lot up the hill that abuts this, yes, is owned by the town, and the town had reached out to Habitat for Humanity
Right.
to possibly, put a house
Right,
there.
right.
That's a little bit on hold, but they have done perk testing there. If we do sell that property to Habitat for Humanity, we would include an easement if this is on that land.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about something that's the size of the amount of land
But
we're
it's a-
talking about is about a park bench
Yeah.
worth of property.
It's a
Right.
good point, though, because possibly the cabling might be on our portion I think that's what you're asking.
And then the trail is owned by the state and leased by the county, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, I mean,
sorry, Steve.
that was the gist of that, but we will need a resolution to that effect.
I've,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, before that, the
I-
surveyor actually provided a price, didn't he?
there was a price there, but I've been reviewing the easement that they are going to acquire. The easement has, there's a lot of content that needs to be put into that easement, similar to what we're talking about, like exactly where are these things going, what are we looking at, who's maintaining it. There's a number of different aspects in this that I don't know all those details, and I don't know who does. And I will need, because when we negotiate the easement, we're going to have to talk with someone from the state. I don't know if we have a contact person that we've been dealing with.
We do, yes.
Awesome.
The state and the county, we have contacts that,
Well, it's probably, at the county, I know who it is, at the state, I don't. But then also some of those details, if you know what they are, then I'll work.
yeah, you can work with me, and I'll work with the Climate Smart group, because I think they're like exhausted of this not moving forward. The survey is a big part of it, because the survey is what is a section of this easement,
Yeah.
which says where this stuff is going.
So the original map that I saw has, and I think the original plan of this, which sounds like it might be moving a little bit, was that the equipment and infrastructure was going to be on our property, and the actual parking spaces were going to be on the on the state property.
Right.
But if we're moving it all to one,
I think that the Climate Smart Action people felt that our land stopped where the blacktop is, and I question if that's probably the case,
Okay.
because it looks like there's been trees planted along that parking lot, which I imagine is state land. So my feeling is it's probably all state land. But we will know by the survey. That's why we need a survey. So the board is, we're asking for the board to pass a resolution to do the survey.
All right, and then you and I can work on some of the details to that. That'll be perfect.
Yes, and the next thing is, I
Charlie,
think that,
regarding the state land, there must be a survey on file.
well, and that's what the surveyor will do. They will pull that, but the surveyor also has to indicate where these charging stations are going to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's the survey, what the survey says, and then there's actually like the stakes in the ground where we're actually looking at what it's going to look like there. But I don't know what the requirements of the grant are with regards to our property or their property either. We got to look at all of
It
that.
doesn't, they don't really care. It's
Okay.
just more like whatever's going to be on their property.
We can work on it.
Yeah, we can work
We'll
on
work
it.
on it.
And we'll also need to probably do a formal bidding for the equipment, because it will be higher than what our procurement policy is.
That's another question.
Yeah.
Some of the content issues, I'm guessing there are bid specs that are already prepared for us on
sure
that
that-
through the grant.
I'm sure that would be something we could purchase in a state
It
aspect
could
of
be on a
it.
state bid, but again,
Well,
grant may
it's-
drive how you want it, how they want it done.
So there's really only one company that does this, and they've done it in Millerton and every place else. We have to, as part of the grant, we have to formally bid it out, but we will probably only get one
Okay.
response,
Gotcha.
and it will be this, I think it's called Lily Pad or something, yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. So the next thing is seeking a quote for this, for a surveyor to survey the Passaic Raised Park. Whether Ian, or whether we ultimately decide that Ian should pursue a, what did you call it, Ian?
So with regards to this, I'm conducting some legal research right now to see if there's one or two avenues that I want to explore about us actually obtaining title to that property. So that's essentially what I'm working on. In the meantime, there was discussion about getting a survey of the parcel actually of itself, so we can clearly identify what it is. If
And the
there-
enhancement committee needs that to
which-
sort of move ahead with their
And
design.
if I'm going to file a lawsuit on it, I would likely need that as well to identify the parcel. So the request would be to have that parcel surveyed.
So I wanted to.
So this
yes,
is
go ahead.
twofold. We're going to have to agree to file a lawsuit, and then we're going to have to agree to have a survey. Is that right?
Well,
No, we do the survey first.
You have an avenue that would require filing a lawsuit.
I have a legal idea on how I can do it.
Well,
I'm
we haven't given
researching
him
that.
permission
I'm
yet.
reaching those two ideas now.
Okay.
So,
based
but
off
we need
our
a
last
survey. Either way, we're gonna
conversation.
need-
I
survey.
understand that. I
No matter
understand
what,
that.
we need a
But,
survey done.
But, this isn't just a...
I would just like to see us move forward on this because it's been, at least since the 50s that I'm aware that the town's been
Since the
using.
50s?
At least.
Yeah, okay. So I want to make a motion that we proceed with seeking a quote from surveyors for surveying that area in the middle of Wassaic.
I'm 100%.
So is that a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a.
Okay.
I'm 100%. That's
We're
okay.
not at 100 yet. I only need a second.
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
Supervisor Blackman.
Yes.
Council members.
Yeah.
Revlard,
Yes.
Ham, Ahern. Sorry, just make sure I got it.
Oh, lovely. Okay, the next thing on here was the Beekman Park Pavilion. So I am imagining that Nicole and Paul have some idea of what's going on there.
No, I have no idea. I haven't
Oh,
talked
then
to
I'll,
anybody.
then I'll
tonight.
tell you.
No, and I was
So-
hoping DJ didn't leave, but,
Oh, but he
no.
did. Okay, well, just from my perspective. So Tracy was anxious to get the RFP out, and which is a lovely idea. John Andrews wasn't 100% convinced that the details were worked out on the RFP.
John
and-
Andrews?
John Andrews is the town attorney?
Okay.
Engineer.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
Engineer.
town engineer, not attorney.
Okay.
That would be Ian. and he's
Yeah, I thought that.
very hurt to hear that. So John Andrews, because John Andrews was very involved in the last thing we said, the last RFP we sent out for the highway garage. So he wanted to just look at that and the form of the RFP, which he's doing, and he promised to get back to us before our next meeting. The other piece is that Tracy spoke to, actually, the town, the board agreed to pay for an engineer to explore the septic system on that property, which was built, I don't want to say illegally, but it was built by volunteers a very long time ago, and there weren't any drawings. So we got an engineer to dig it up, get information on the system, and then come to conclusions about how the changes to the pavilion would impact, whether the capacity is adequate, basically. Now, the fun part of that is that the leach field for that system is closer to the wetland than would be allowed now. So it's grandfathered, so we're allowed to keep it if we keep the capacity of use down to what it can accept. So what Tracy originally got from the consultant who did the exploration was that they were figuring 5 gallons a person for the waste, and they were figuring the kitchen part based on a fast food restaurant in terms of the output, the waste output, which was really strange. So Tracy said to me, maybe we should talk to someone else. Like, maybe you should check with John Andrews and see if he agrees. Or maybe that was your idea, Ian. But anyway, it was your idea?
I don't want to take credit for anything, but.
Well, no, if it was, I'm giving it to the wrong person. But in any event, I called John Andrews, and he looked at what we got from the other engineer, and he said, well, first of all, we're not increasing the number of people who use the pavilion, and there's never been a problem with the septic before. So that's number one. Number two, part of this project is to replace all the fixtures in the bathroom with low flush fixtures, so that reduces it further. So he said, if I were to calculate that, I would guess maybe 3 gallons a person instead of 5 gallons a person, which significantly increases the number of people who can use it to the number of people who come to a game are much closer to what that was estimated at. And then, this is really boring, isn't it? I'm sorry.
No.
Anyway, but the gist of it is that, that John Andrews felt very comfortable that we could use the system, and in addition to that, the ball fields are used primarily on Saturday. They're not used every day.
Right.
So again, he was sort of surprised that the
That they were
first
estimating
engineer.
that for
Yeah.
like everyday
So
use.
I'm going to say again, when we started this, all we were looking to do was turn the 2 bathrooms into ADA and create
Compliant.
hand wash stations inside the kitchen area. That was it. Nothing real complicated. It's really grown.
Well, no,
in
it's just
scope.
because, the Department of Health
Yeah, but
who we met
that
with
that was
several
after,
times.
that was after talking to the Department of Health. This is what they told us to need. We needed, we needed 3 sinks for hand washing stations. That was it. And all we were doing in the bathrooms was redesigning them and making them ADA approved.
Right.
That was it.
Right, but
So-
the issue was talking about preparing food in there when we first started talking.
But the whole time is we never wanted to cook food. We ditched the idea of cooking food in there. All we need is hand washing stations so they
And a
can
mop
sell, so that they can sell prepackaged food.
Exactly. So that's where this is going ahead, and that's why
Okay.
John Andrews said that there wasn't any problem with what was being proposed.
Yeah, so the scope of this took on a life of its own, which created Department of Health issues with the septic. So the scope needs to be scaled back to what I think the original thought process was. That can get to John Andrews, then John Andrews can start working on putting together a bid package. So that's where we're going. He has sent some emails with regards to some information he may need to Leo, so just check your emails for that as well.
But the issue is that DOA, that would be interesting, DOH said that we needed to, explore the septic system to find out what it could hold, to know whether even for that use that was possible. So that's how we got to this point.
Sounds like we're in good shape, though.
Yeah,
We can
I think
just
so.
Keep moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that can go ahead. I mean, I think that at our next meeting, we'll probably be able to have a resolution for that too. And the draft cannabis law, now I apologize, what happened is that the planning board.
I have
it got
comments.
sent out. I know, but did everyone have a chance to look at it? Because otherwise
Yeah.
we can.
A
Okay.
little bit, yeah.
All
So,
right, Brad, are you okay with that? Okay, so I apologize though, because the planning board is part of this process. They had to go through it, and what happened, I think, is that the comments that were made in the meeting were supposed to be put into one document by their attorney who didn't do it.
I'm
So then
fine
we
with the comments that we got here on the side, but I got some serious issues here with these comments.
Okay, well,
So that's
wait, let me just
Okay,
pull
go
mine
ahead.
out so I can see it at the same time.
So this kind of goes back all the way to earlier this year when we had a planning board member resign because he felt that the planning board was being basically ran by one person. And
What
they're-
planning board member resigned?
at the beginning of the year?
Matt Deister.
What?
Deister.
Yeah, but he also never did his homework or showed up to meetings, so it wasn't like his decision entirely.
Oh, I don't know, I'm just telling him who I.
So he stopped going there because he felt that the planning board was being ran by one particular person and their own personal agenda. And now that I see these comments here, it kind of really shows that this person is kind of making the decisions. I mean,
This person is the only person who's a professional planner
it
on the board.
might be, but why would they want us to protect people in the cemetery from cannabis?
Excuse
I-
me,
I think-
just a minute, I was at the meeting.
Thank you,
And
Rosanna.
so basically, Nina put the comments in here, but the comments came from the whole board.
But it shows here comments by each different person who
I
made
know,
the comment.
but at the meeting, these were all brought up.
Okay.
By all of the members of the people, there were
So-
only 4 people there.
Okay.
And those people, so the only one who did not comment here was Bob. So,
But what I see here is, what we were told is that the planning board follows the law, right? Not their personal agendas or their personal thoughts. And I would think that the planning board would have looked at the New York State law as to what they require, right? Because there's other stuff, it's like the maps need to be revised, not to show additional playground, but also to provide a realistic.
they did.
Hey, can I finish, please? Can I finish, please? But also realistic measurements to achieve the separation distance goals. So that's defined by the state already. It says from doorway to doorway.
However,
It's
It doesn't
very-
work on a park which doesn't have a doorway, however,
But there's an entrance to the park, right, at the edge of the street?
unless the whole thing is open.
So the thing is, that's what the New York State law says. However, as we learned at our training, we can be more strict than that. So I'm just saying that just because the New York State said that, we can make it different. We can't make it any,
So they're suggesting things to.
To
that
make it
they
even more
want.
restrictive is what you're saying.
Correct.
I think, once again, I'm going to say that I think we're getting too far here into the weeds on this. We're just trying to allow a business to be able to operate.
Well, we're not just doing that, we're trying to do it in a way that impacts the town positively, Paul.
I understand that, but I think we've come up with a really good plan here to do that, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. I mean, a cemetery? Who are we protecting in the cemetery?
Dead people. You know, that particular issue is not one that concerns me. However, you know, the point of this is to tailor something to Amenia. And if the planning board, like, has thoughts about how to do that in a better way, then the planning board should weigh in. I mean, we're not required to accept all their comments.
Okay.
But I think it's certainly reasonable that we discuss them. You know, I mean, that was the first page of the comments. There was a question about whether we should consider municipal buildings in terms of the setbacks.
Which, does she just mean like the town hall?
Basically, because I think that's our
school's
only
already
municipal
included.
building.
Where would a business open up next to the town hall?
In the new buildings I want out there instead of...
In the parking
Instead
lot?
of Amenia Green,
Oh,
right?
well, hey, that is something
But I mean,
that you and
I don't-
Charlie have included.
But again, I don't necessarily agree that that's what we should be doing. I'm just, you know, they gave us a number of suggestions, which
Well,
we're supposed to discuss.
when I'm looking at these comments here, what I'm seeing is that this planning board is, once again, it seems to be putting their own personal thoughts in there rather than following the law.
Paul,
I think
you
that's-
have your own personal ideas about why this should be done the way it is, because you have two very good friends who are interested in this business.
I don't have any good friends that are in this
Oh, come on,
business.
Paul.
So can we go through these as a group and
What a good idea.
determine which
Thank you,
ones we
Nicole.
want to ex-nay or say?
Ex-nay, I love that.
Yeah, so municipal buildings, I'm assuming she's talking about the town hall, and I think on that current one we have, isn't it already out of, like, don't we already
Well,
have
if
that?
we're-
Our circle chart.
Our circle, you know, because if we create this into this field here, into the Amenia Green,
It would be out of it anyway.
yeah, it would be
Yeah.
out of bounds, so.
One
So-
of the issues that I had expressed in my comments, there is a park that is behind Town Hall here,
The
and
playground back
that
there.
little
The
playground. yeah.
playground back here.
And we have a circular driveway, which would be an entrance, I believe, to that park. And so, but that has not been marked off on the map.
So
And
it should be.
That,
yeah.
I think, should,
So-
yes, that should be
I
recognized
think
on
at
the
the
map.
last meeting, I asked her to base the circle off the basketball court.
But it should be the park, it should be the playground, it should be that.
Yeah, but the
whole-
playground needs to be,
Yeah,
needs
yeah,
to be
well,
a
it
distance
should
from
be
the
this whole,
playground
yeah, the whole
too.
thing.
The way the law reads is that I think it's from every viable entrance from a public way into,
Okay.
so it should be marked,
Yeah, okay.
which would also affect where placement could be for any dispensary.
Do people feel strongly about town hall? Because I don't particularly care.
I don't either.
I don't either, and I think I get what she's saying, but I think because of the park situation, we don't have to worry about it. And other than the town hall, I don't know what other municipalities not included already in this.
I think that's all we have.
So I think we're good.
I mean, except for maybe the fire department, but I don't think that that's an issue here.
Yeah, so I think we're good there. If we just, like Ian said, get the park circle around, behind town hall included in the parking, we'll be good there. I'm not understanding that second
The
comment.
second one, I
so-
think they're saying that,
Some-
yeah, go ahead.
So the New York State law reads that it's the distances from door to door, right? As the crow flies, that's how they do it. And he's just saying moving from the doorway to the property edge. But New York State law kind of defined that as, okay, it's from door to door as the crow flies, is how it works.
And Rosanna said that we're entitled to interpret that differently.
Yeah, I understand that, and it just sounds like we're keep making things more and more restrictive for anybody to be able to do any business in this community.
Okay, so what it actually says here, though, is that what if a building is torn down and they move the door? I mean, I don't know if the things that are, I don't know that that's a concern, again. I mean, I don't know that that's a big deal to
Well,
me.
we're going to worry about, so basically they're saying that we're worried about a new church being built? I mean, I'm not
No, they're
sure.
saying that if there's a commercial building that a cannabis dispensary decides to move into,
Okay.
they're building one, and the door is in a different place than the building that was there
Yeah,
before.
I don't think we need to worry about that. I mean, it's,
They are going to have to go for a site plan review.
yeah, they're gonna have to go, they're gonna have to go through the same rules. They're gonna still have to stay away from whatever, if they propose something new, they still gotta stay away the same distance from.
Ian?
There should also be, and we can do some research into this with regards to the definition of how their start point and end point for their measurements. Because it's silly stuff like that will jam you up later on. So that is an issue that we should try to figure out, because I think our law states from an entranceway, and I think the state law says door to door. So what that actually means, we should probably find out. And then the cannabis board will change it for you right afterwards.
So here's the other thing too, is if we gotta remember that whatever we create, we have to circulate to the state. And if they see that we've made things too restrictive, they're just gonna reject it anyway.
Well, it'll go to the county planning. It'll go to county planning first.
Yeah, they have to look at it also, so. I don't feel strongly about the cemetery, does anyone?
No, I don't either. I was just thinking, what other cemetery do we have besides 343? But it's the one by Fudgy's.
Right.
The other thing,
Cemeteries, actually.
the other thing on that is enlarging that boundary, which I think is what Roseanne, isn't that what you had kind of wanted to, in the beginning, it to be more than 200 feet?
No, I just felt that we needed to have some place where there's off-street parking, which New York State does say, off-street parking, and there's not many places in town that have that.
I'm not sure I'm following.
Yeah, I'm talking about the comment, considering enlarging the boundary from worships,
Right.
playground.
Yeah, well,
to park.
that goes up to the place of worship, the 200 feet from the place of worship cemetery, which we were not gonna include a cemetery, playground, or public park. I thought we were all comfortable with the 200 feet except for Ms. Tam.
Well, I did think it was a little bit odd that we were further away from a public library than a playground. I mean, I wouldn't object to having both of those be 300 feet, but, again, it's not that important to me. But I think the place of worship and playground and public park seem to me to be in the same category as a public library, but.
I get what you're saying. Consistency would be nice.
What?
Well,
Keep it consistent.
The consistency, I think, is nice because it sounds like the numbers were built with a place in mind. Rather than really being objective and doing it the right way or doing it however we decided, the numbers were kind of put in place so that we could not have it or have it in places that people didn't want to have it.
But didn't you tell me that the planning board said that they thought that we should be designing this based on what we actually want, like where we want dispensaries to be, and then working backwards from that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. That was what I had recommended to the board from day one.
See, I'm never
with
giving
putting
you
this
credit
together.
for anything.
Figure out where you want it,
Yep.
and then you draft a
Well,
law.
And then you work from there.
I think these numbers already have. I
But-
know where you want it, and so all the numbers head to that place.
So the numbers come from the state, right?
No, they're not exactly from the state.
These numbers come from the state. That's where these numbers came from. The state made their recommendations, right? And I just applied that to it. There are locations in this community that people have expressed interest in. Do I know that they're actually going to build a business there? No, I have no idea. I'm just trying to keep things simple so people can open a business. It sounds like that we have this moral issue, we have more restrictions being added. I'm seeing these comments from the planning board, and it just keeps telling me that what I've been hearing for the past 20 years, that this town does everything possible to make it difficult for anybody to do business. Here it is, this one particular item that we're working on shows it very true that is the case. We just keep making it harder and harder for anybody to do any business. That's it.
Or should we give this up?
No, I think we need to push through this, but here we are 10 months later, and we're arguing about whether it should be 200 feet, 300 feet, or I might have a personal interest in it, which I don't. I just met the guy last year, so you can't call him my friend.
I don't know.
Right? I know
I
you.
can't call him
So
that.
some of the
I met him the same day that Rosanna met him, so
Some of
I guess
the
he's
comments-
Rosanna's friend as well.
Okay.
Some of the comments are legitimate, though, some of the language. You know, like this, eco does not show a 12152.
Yeah, but that's we haven't gotten to that part yet. All right,
I
we're
know,
still
but-
we're still discussing the
But you're-
footage.
But my point is.
I'm comfortable with the way that we have the footage laid out now. How's the rest of the town board feel?
Well, we're trying to go through these.
So, how do you feel about that, Nicole?
Well, one thing we think we all agree on is the cemetery, so.
Yeah, no, is a no.
Yeah.
It's not comment time, sir. It's not comment time,
I
sir.
thought
No,
it would
we
be
have-
helpful, though. At that meeting, they said that if you know where you want to do it, the planning board could create an overlay and zone it in that area. That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
This is the...
You want to speak?
Oh,
For some people that watch the meeting.
I filmed the planning board, and you can watch it and see what they said.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, how about that? Oh, that's right.
I forgot about
That
that.
was such a good idea, Mike.
I mean, we can skip all this then and go to that. We can have the planning board do the overlay and then come back to us and then we critique it.
All I'm saying is I'm comfortable with what we gave out for the square footage. I don't think it's just sound like a.
I do believe that there was another draft that came out very late today, actually.
I'm sorry, you mean
Yeah,
something
this
from the
one.
planning board that came out later?
I'm not sure. I just there was a lot of emails going today, so
I think
because
that
I'm
what,
looking at
That's just the comments.
These
This
are-
is the way that.
I think the second one that's horizontal,
Yeah.
I think that may be changing the language based on this stuff.
let's see.
I mean, we certainly could have, we could certainly have an actual board meeting to discuss this in more detail before we start on the budget next time, a week from now.
I thought we were discussing it now.
Well, if you want to go through it now, I'm just saying.
I'm thinking that we're trying to get through this and get done with this so that we can move forward with
All right,
this.
so let's move forward and leave that point and go and move forward.
All right, go to the next
I do believe that there is another version, I think AKRF updated based on comments.
Really?
I got two.
Yes,
It's probably a.
No, there's only.
Because-
Oh, it is from Ashley
And this is
Lee.
a lot of.
because there's a comment in here, NP, I'm guessing is Nina?
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
Bottom line.
so Nina made a comment with regards to the decommissioning plan. That was also one of my comments about a decommissioning plan, and it's not mentioned in any of these drafts, and there is a new revision on that. So there is another version of this floating around.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And
Yeah, there's this whole other version here has all these different comments.
Yeah, and
So which one's the newer one? The yellow?
I was
neither of
working
these,
off of this
neither
one.
of these. There is one that's different because
This is the one I was working off of.
there is an update as to the
the one I was
No, that's
decommissioning
this one,
plan.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
was
was
working
looking
off
at
of this
too.
one.
So it should be on this one?
I don't know, which one should we be on here?
There's another plan that's not here.
Gotcha,
I don't have
okay.
it. So because
stop
there
this
is a version which discusses a decommissioning plan and actually outlines some details to a decommissioning plan, which is, again, that was one of my comments. And
And where did that come from?
Decommissioning. Oh, we're talking about decommissioning now. All
No,
right,
that was just, he's just
Well,
using.
that's
that
just
to
one
say-
aspect that I know that there was changes that
So-
I don't see in here, so that's why.
So who did that come from and when? Or you don't know?
Today,
I guess I
I'm
could
guessing
I didn't get
it's
it.
all a little bit of a blur. Let me see what I can find.
I mean, because if these don't agree with each other and there's another version, I think then we should not waste time
Yeah,
right
I
now.
concur, but
Because I think what's happening is there are responses,
You mean AKRF is responding to
there's
the
been,
planning board already?
yes, there's been responses to piecemeal response right now, and I think there needs to be kind of a collective, because this looks all piecemeal to me right now.
And that's
because-
what Paul Van Cott was supposed to be doing, I think, was to be combining all.
Yeah, and I know there was something, because I remember reading through the decommissioning plan, because it was something I was interested in
August
as
20th.
having that in the
So
code.
this is
Yeah,
old,
this
it's October.
Oh.
Their planning board had a September meeting.
Okay.
so how about this? Is this a draft that we should be working off
It
of, the
still shows
820?
it. Not if they just had a meeting.
It's difficult to use for my phone, though.
Well, yes, the vertical one came from Ashley Lee on August 20th, but that's marked up as well. So I don't know if they started with that. Okay, I think, could you call Paul Van Cott and see if he's combining these things and see if there is a third document so that we're discussing the right thing?
Yeah, I think at this point, if we, I can work with Paul, I can call AKRF, I can make sure we have a coordination of all the comments that have been made.
Yeah,
and see
because
if they
otherwise,
can
I mean, it's
put-
silly for us to get through this.
Yes.
We're just wasting our time here. I
Correct.
just wanted to point out that it seemed like that there was a lot of personal stuff here rather than just following what the law is.
Okay,
No.
so I guess then, is everyone okay tabling that until our next
Yes,
meeting?
I agree.
Okay, all right, now where the hell were we?
Now
Okay,
we're
oh, the resolution.
accept bidded engineer architect.
102.
102. Oh, do I have that? Should
gotta
have
put it
that.
in there.
Oh, look at that. It's right there.
Right.
Oh my God, it's right in front of me. If it were a resolution snake, it would have been me. Okay, so resolution, what did you say, 102?
Yes.
Of 2024, approving proposal for architectural engineering services for a new highway garage and salt storage facility for the town of Amenia. Whereas the town of Amenia is seeking professional architectural engineering services for a new highway garage and salt storage facility for the town of Amenia, and whereas by resolution number 70 of 2024, adopted by the town board on June 6, 2024, the town board authorized the formal solicitation for request for proposals for architectural engineering services for a new highway garage and salt storage facility for the town of Amenia. And whereas requests for proposals for architectural engineering services were duly published and responses were received by the following: Collins Engineering and Design, CPL Architects Engineers, DCAK MSA Architects and Engineers, Delta Engineers Architects and Land Surveyors, Labella Associates DPC, and Charles A. Manganaro Consulting Engineers. Whereas the proposals have been reviewed and evaluated by the town engineer, John V. Andrews, Jr., P.E., and whereas the town engineer made recommendation of the following three firms to the town board to be considered for a more detailed review and personal interview. Okay, it's listing, did I make grammatical?
Yeah, I listed some of them again.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay, these are the three.
Three that we
okay.
interviewed.
So the ones that were proposed by the engineer and that we ultimately agreed with is CPL Architects and Engineers, Labella Associates, and Colliers Engineering and Design. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia has interviewed the recommended firms and would like to retain the services of CPL, right?
CPL.
In accordance with their proposal, a copy of which is annexed here too, and whereas this is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and therefore not subject to review under SECRA, and whereas the professional engineering services to be provided by CPL to the town constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law 103 and the town of Amenia's procurement policy. But we did that, didn't we, Ian? Mm-hmm. We did bid it.
You did.
Okay.
You did, but
Belt and suspenders.
it was not required, but the town board did it
Okay,
to
and
obtain
there
the
we go.
best.
Okay,
that they could get.
good to know. Now therefore it be resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the town board of the town of Amenia has determined that this is a type 2 action under SECRA and therefore not subject to review under SECRA. 3, the town board determines the professional engineering services to be provided by CPL to the town constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law 103 and the town of Amenia's procurement policy. 4, the town board hereby awards the contract for professional architectural engineering services to CPL in accordance with their proposal, a copy of which is annexed here too. 5, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a contract with CPL in connection with a new highway garage and salt storage facility for the town of Amenia. Wait, there we go. The town board hereby authorizes the payment for said architectural engineering services to be paid from there's an engineering budget line. Did we fill that in? What is it?
14404.01.
Budget line, okay. And motion made by me.
I'll second. Comment real quick?
Sure, please.
So I'm 100% behind CPL, as we discussed earlier. As long as Mr. George Schmidt is running the show, I think we picked a really good deal here. What do you guys think? No?
Yeah, there was one more comment about an overview by John Andrews on the project.
Say it again?
The overview with John Andrews on the project once it starts unfolding?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other comment.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Winters?
Yes.
Revlar?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So, any town board comments?
I just want to remind people that we are having an Indian Rock Schoolhouse event on October 13th, and also the Silo Ridge Horse Show. Actually, I think it started today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, with Sunday being, they say, a great day with lots of things for kids, bouncy house, food trucks, and of course the horses, which are beautiful. It's beautiful up there. I was up there on Saturday with Danielle. So,
Oh, the horse thing, right?
horse.
Yeah.
I did wonder why there were so many jodhpurs at Peggy at lunchtime, at Peggy's at lunchtime, so that answers that
I actually
question.
volunteered for that, for the auction tomorrow night.
Cool.
I forgot about that.
Any other town board comments?
Just
6 o'clock, I gotta be there.
question, if appropriate. Ian, is there any update on the kiln process?
All right, I thought that was under
we had to have
discussion.
that done before the October
So-
1, or they were gonna withdraw.
So the kilns, we've gotten the title report back, and we are waiting for, we will be discussing the kilns in executive session tonight with regards to,
That's why.
regards to a legal issue concerning the kilns, but right now, we are waiting for phase 2 of the environmental to be completed.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for remembering that. Okay, any other town board comments? Then there's another opportunity for public comment, if anyone has thought up anything. Uh-oh!
I
Judy.
think Judy specifically asked for this so she could do this every
I think that's true, but there's nothing wrong with that, you know, democracy and all that stuff.
How do I know what to say until you've said something? Okay, couple of things. One, on the Economic Development Committee, as far as having members who are out of town, I just want to point out that there could be the appearance of somebody who wishes to do business in the town influencing the rules under which they do business if you open it to people who are not residents of the town. You certainly want people to be discussing how to bring new businesses into the town, not necessarily enhance their own, even though, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you just might want to consider that. Let me see. On the bidding, the only requirements that you didn't have to pay attention to are picking the lowest responsible bidder. It's fine to put bids out, but you didn't have to pay attention to that. On cemeteries, I myself don't visit cemeteries, but I know a lot of people who do, and it could affect them. So I'm just saying that. And in discussing the location for the charging station, it's congenial, and I know that, but it would be nice if we didn't hear comments from the town board table about garbage dumps or late night assignations. So we might want to, we might want to think about that stuff before we say it. Thank you.
Okay. That was easy. So any other public comment? Oh my God, Charlie.
Well, I attended the planning board meeting where they discussed the cannabis law, and a piece that they made, and I have this too, is that the measurement for it should be from the property line of whatever type of property you're discussing. State law does use this pinpoint of a door or an entrance, but local law can be more restrictive. And parking came up, was a really big thing. So, you have to have off-street parking, which in a way, and the planning board discussed this, that really takes away anything really in the hamlet along, 343. So their idea was you should decide where you want it, and it can be in a different use, zone, like either commercial or whatever else, which made it easier.
And that's what I understood from the very beginning, is that we just wanted to keep it off of 343. Right? That's what we were shooting for, so.
That wasn't what I was shooting for, but I got shot down.
Yeah, so if we keep it off of 343, and if the off-street parking rules, that already prevents anything on 343, so the distances is kind of mute point at this point.
Yeah, that's
Okay. If there's no other public comment, then we're going to go into executive session for some legal advice.
Oh.
Yeah, this one's longer, sorry.
Oh, no.
Not too much longer, but a little longer. Anyway, thank you all for attending. It was delightful.
Is there a second?
Oh, is there a second? Second.
Yeah, I second it.
Brad?
Or is it Brad Kim? We're going to your office.
We're moving into
Yes, aye.
What?
Aye.
Aye.